Directing traffic, gonna go deep, has a man deep. It is caught for the touchdown. Corey Davis.
If he has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer.
Drive face, full cell vertical, get into the blind spot, and he absolutely burns him. Corner is lost. He literally has no idea where Wilson is.
Really high floor, really high ceiling. You could be talking about the best corner in the league. Sauce can do that.
This is actual film. This is actual football talk. It's a football show. We're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
And you are listening to another edition of Blewett Blitz, joined by my friend Kyle Smith, who I haven't seen in like almost 3 weeks at this point, which kind of feels weird. So what's up, Kyle?
Not much, Joe. We were just chatting a little bit before we got live, and summer's coming to an end. And for me, that might be less of a bad thing, or maybe not as good thing because I'm enjoying chilling this summer. But for you, it might be a good thing because at least with your work, it's gonna slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I look forward to the winter months when nobody goes outside. Drink in your own house. Just don't beat your wife. That's my slogan, So, what is up to everybody in here? I see John was in here early. Eagle was in here. Hawk was in here. West Coast Jets. Steven Angle, all early. I appreciate it. I was actually considering, Kyle, texting you today and be like, let's go on early for the people who are here early. But we didn't. So I
would have been down.
Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll award the people. We'll go live at 5:30 one day. That extra half an hour will really make their day. What's up, Steven Angle? West Coast Jets talking about fullbacks. Steven Angle's talking about 2 buffalo chicken slices, which I got to find better pizza by me. I don't necessarily love the buffalo chicken around me, but buffalo chicken then ice cream. Kyle, are you concerned about Steven Angle's stomach later? Because I think he is pushing 40, mid 40s. So buffalo chicken and ice cream. How do you feel that's going? He's going to respond to that.
If it's a 1 day out of the week thing, okay. But get your ass in the gym tomorrow. If you're going to enjoy today, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But make sure you work it off tomorrow.
What's up, Sneakers to Boots? Squad from Snowball. Rob D. Rodrigo. Snowball again, Hawk, Snow Bizzle, Kyle, gentlemen. Appreciate that, Donald. Shaq and Kobe. Who is Shaq and who is Kobe? Kyle Shaq. Kyle's definitely Shaq. Kyle's bigger than me. And he's not very he's very boxy. So I think that's, even though I'm definitely not Kobe. I'm like Sean Marion, the way I shoot a basketball. But what's up, Daniel Murphy, Tony Lee?
I do have the Shaq free throws. I'll say that.
You do it? Could you do the one-handed free throw?
I'm saying my free throw shots are ass, so
Somebody did challenge you in my last live stream. Somebody said that they want to play you in a one-on-one basketball game, Kyle. So,
I'm not good at basketball, so let's see if they can block me. Let's see if they can block me on the offensive line.
You just take advantage. Hold on, in basketball, you take advantage of little children. I didn't want to say you just take advantage of little children, have it be out of context, Kyle. Dude, but in basketball, you just take care of it.
The last game listen. Ant Prodigy, who's a Jets fan who comes in the streams from time to time, he's like 6'5". We beat him. I'll be honest, that game was a lot more. That game was a lot tougher than the game that you saw, but we still won.
Steven Angle walks 11 miles delivering mail. Tough job, honestly. I would hate.
Hey, Steven, my dad worked for the post office for 32 years, but he worked inside though.
Kyle's not a fan of sunscreen. I guess you got burnt recently, Kyle. I didn't even notice that. So good eye. But
he is right. I always forget to put it on.
My wife would kill you. She would kill you. I'll go out to be cutting the grass and she'll try to run out behind me and put it on my ears. I'm like, just chill. But she's in dermatology, so I get it. So Kyle, today we're going to talk about some of the roster cuts that happened. We're going to do our 53-man roster prediction. We're going to talk about just news and notes from the training camp. We're also going to talk about the Giants scrimmage. We're going to talk about the Falcons game. I want to get a little bit of your thoughts from the first preseason game against the Eagles. There's kind of lightning around that, but just get your quick thoughts because I'd like to get your thoughts. So they're out there at least. And then, like I said, we're going to do a 53-man roster prediction in a little bit. We'll take some chats. We'll do as we do. But the first bit of news that I guess actually something I didn't touch on was by the way, Kyle, you were a Game of Thrones person, right?
You said I wasn't? I wasn't?
No, you turned into one, right? Did you watch the entire thing?
Listen, I enjoyed it, but I'm not the type of person that would go and read the books, or I don't think I'd watch the whole thing all over again. Did you watch it twice over?
I'm about to. Did you watch House of Dragon? Did you start that or no?
I haven't started yet, but I will watch it.
Oh, the first episode was good. It was good. But I don't know why I wanted to throw that out there, but that's like the new thing right now. There's not a lot of stuff going out, but House of Dragon is awesome. I'm a big Game of Thrones guy. The first time I watched it, I didn't pay attention enough to the names where it's like there's 1,000 different names. I'm like, oh, House Targaryen, Baratheon of Stark, of Slyzer. It's like, who the fuck are they talking about?
I
But
feel
other
like
than
if
that,
I
it's
watched
really
it over a second time, I would understand a little bit more of the politics and all the family dynamics more and stuff. I do feel like it is a show that has enough depth that it's worth watching over again, but
Mhm.
I don't know that it's so much my style that's a lot of hours to watch all over again. So yeah, but I enjoed it though. It's a good show
Yeah,
for sure.
First
Except for
episode was
the
good.
last season, but
Mhm.
everyone knows that the last season kind of sucked.
Yeah. My wife does not like brutality all the time, but that first episode was pretty brutal. But it was good. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I think what's it called? Lord of the Rings is coming out too, which I like. I like Lord of the Rings when I was a kid. Like not much Star Wars, but like I wasn't like a nerd for Lord of the Rings, but I watched it. I know that show is coming out too. But I heard it has nothing to do with the movies though, so I might be a little bit disappointed, but we'll see. Nonetheless. Top 25 next week, Kyle. We had to move it. I loved in the top 25. This list was much, much more hard than past years because we actually have like average-ish level players, so we're not going to make the list. So that'll be fun. Other than that, news and notes. Did you see the whole Thibodeau thing with the chop block, cut block? What were your thoughts on that? Because you had half of Twitter saying that it was a dirty block, get ejected for the rest of his life. So
yeah, so I saw Schlereth going off on people, and I know that you've had some words with Schlereth on Twitter. Well, that you've commented on something that he said, and maybe you're not the hugest fan of him in the world or whatever, but he had a tweet that says something along the lines of literally this block is executed 100 times on a weekly basis. And he's right. It is. Any given game that you watch on an NFL Sunday, you're going to see that block executed maybe 12 plus times, over a dozen times. So, it's just unfortunate that Kayvon Thibodeau, he did a shitty job shielding himself from that block. And he ended up getting hurt, and he's a 5th overall draft pick, and that's why you're seeing everybody talk about it. So
yeah, you want to stuff it, and you definitely do not want to turn your knee sideways into it, because if he traps your ankle into the ground, you're screwed. Now Thad Moss didn't do a good job like diving and rolling through the thighs. Like he dove kind of at his knee to his ankle area, but it's just he executed a piss poor cut block. That's all it was. And Thibodeau didn't take it on wrong. It's a football play, but like people are going crazy about it. I was like, that happens quite often. So do you watch? It happens. I don't know. Nonetheless, Kyle, we made 5 roster cuts so far. Linebacker Kai Nuka, who didn't really make many plays. I think he made like a big hit on the first day of camp against like Breece Hall. That was about it. Caleb Beno Notch, the offensive lineman, Isaiah Williams, offensive lineman, who if you watch those games was absolutely dreadful when he was in there, at least when I watched him. Elijah Riley, who I think is he's a pretty early roster cut, but I think that's a guy who they might be doing him a little bit of a favor. Hey, go try to stick on another roster, because he had I think he started like 6 or 7 games for the Jets. So I think he's a guy who can land on another squad, and the Jets afforded him that opportunity. And then the guy who you guaranteed to make the roster, Eddie Pinero, also got cut. So does Greg Zuerlein. So any thoughts on those 5?
Yeah, for those of you guys that don't catch that, that's sarcasm. I definitely didn't say definitely for Pinero, but I did think that he probably would make the roster. But I guess they're going with the veteran. In terms of those other guys, good riddance. I don't think we seriously thought that any of them had a realistic shot at making maybe Riley. But when you look at the amount of talent that the Jets infused in the secondary this year, and the fact that he was kind of only playing based off of injuries and stuff last year, he didn't really seem like a likely candidate to make the roster anyway. So
yeah. So next, and I think we haven't spoke since Zach Wilson's injury, right, Kyle? You were not on for the last 2 weeks, so I'm gonna get your thoughts on that game really quickly, and then we'll get into.
Well, I was technically supposed to be on last week.
Yeah,
but then again, I did ask you if we could do a different day, so
Yeah,
I am
scheduling
picking him as
issues.
well.
It is what it is. But you're sitting there. I don't know if you texted me that night or if I
did.
texted you.
Yeah,
but
I was at a wedding, so I wasn't even able to watch the game live, but I'm on Twitter and then I'm hearing, oh, Zach Wilson, non-contact knee injury. I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. So then I texted you because I didn't actually see the play at first. And
yeah, I was numb to what was happening, and then you texted me, and I think you said like, "Is it bad?" I'm like, "It looks terrible." Like I think he's going to be out for the rest of the year, and not. And fortunately for us, obviously, it's only going to be a few weeks. But what do you think about? And there was a lot of kind of stir about. Well, he should just go down. And I want to give your thought. I want to get your thoughts about that before I even kind of put my input into that. 'Cause I don't know if you've heard my 2 cents.
that someone said that Zach should have just slid instead of try to cut.
He should have slid. He should have ran out of bounds. Was a big thing. It's preseason. You got to know that. Go down. So I'm sure by the inflection of my voice right there, you can tell my opinion on it. But go off on that if you have a strong opinion.
Okay. I mean, like, listen. Do I think that players, especially a quarterback, should try to protect themselves maybe a little bit extra in preseason? Yeah, sure. But in an actual game, I mean, one of the things that we liked about Zach Wilson, and one of the reasons why we said he has a high upside, a really high ceiling, was because he's a pretty good athlete. Now, I think that some people may say, oh, you're overhyping his athleticism a little bit or whatever, but, his ability to move and make throws on the run and make throws from awkward angles and, his ability to scramble, I mean, that's something that a lot of quarterbacks can't really do. So it's an extra thing that, like, hey, listen, on a third down, sometimes throwing windows just aren't there. Make a play with your legs. And sometimes if that requires, cutting up inside to get the first down, then sometimes that needs to be done. So, do I want to see him do that in a regular season game if it means getting a first down on a third down? Yes, I do. Maybe not if his knee's not 100% or something like that. There was a part of me that, thought about, tweeting out like, hey, listen, I never want him to plant that hard ever again. But that's kind of stupid because, and my coaches used to tell me when I was in high school, like, if you're scared about playing, getting hurt, you're more likely to get hurt. So I think you can play football being scared. I mean, there's a difference between playing smart and playing stupid. And I don't know. I mean, like, it's tough. What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are, it's like, I would understand it more if he tried to truck a guy out of bounds, like lowered his shoulder for an extra yard or two. That didn't mean anything. But like, how many times does he make that cut in practice? Just scrambling out, two-hand touch type deal, and he's avoiding a guy, trying to avoid his two-hand touch and makes that cut, dude. Like, it's a normal football play. Like, I make cuts like that chasing my dog in the backyard. Like, it's not. I'm not lowering my shoulder into my shed. Like, I don't think it's something that's out of the ordinary for an NFL player to make a cut like that. So I didn't see an issue with it. Like, I think it's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking because they know the results. So it's, of course, go down. But like you said, with the cut block, like, I'm sure he makes that type of cut in practice 4, 5, 6 times on scramble drills. So it's not like he lowered his shoulder. So I'm not going to kill him for it. Now, with that being said, too, you haven't been on since a Becton injury, I don't think. So what are your thoughts on that overall situation? We'll talk about Dwayne Brown in a little bit, but overall with Becton, the show after the Becton injury, I kind of was like smirking at the intro. I might have to change up the intro a little bit with Becton being like the first player featured. We'll see where his career goes with the Jets, but overall thoughts about the entire Mekhi Becton situation, both for this year and then going into, I guess, next year's third year. Like, should we? I know what you're going to say in terms of should we rely on him to be the starter? You're going to say no, but kind of delve into that if you can a little bit.
Yeah, so I was at the practice where that happened. It was on the far side of the field, and the offensive line was on the opposite side. So I couldn't even really see that it was him immediately. I just knew that some offensive lineman went down, and it looked like somebody rolled up on them. And I was like, "Oh shit!" And soon enough, I saw that it was him, and he got up immediately, and you could tell he was so frustrated. He threw off his shoulder pads almost immediately, and he just looked really pissed. And one of the trainers was over talking to him, and then he was limping. And I was like, oh, shit. And I assumed that he did injure the same knee because, he was already like limping and stuff before that. Didn't seem like he was 100%, recovered from it. Mm-hmm. But apparently it's a brand new injury. And it's just like, here's the thing. So let's kind of do a quick little history rundown of Mekhi Becton. All right. So rookie year, overall good. But how many games did he miss? Was it around 4? And even the games that he did play, how many of them did he come out for a quarter or for 10 plays? Or, it must have been maybe 4 or 5 different games that he actually did suit up for where he missed part of that game. So that's year 1. Year 2 basically doesn't play at all. First game has a big knee injury, which he's supposed to recover from soon, but then it ends up being a whole year-long thing. So much so to the point where he still wasn't recovered in the point of training camp. And then he hurts the same knee, different injury this year, and he's basically going to miss. He is probably going to miss every single game this year. So as you correctly said, the Jets can't rely on him going forward. And I was all in favor of that. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, Sam Darnold, I was not a believer after year 2. I was still somewhat optimistic that this could be the year. Year 3 could finally be the year where he changes things around. But then when he plays like absolute dog shit in the first 2 weeks, you're like, this experiment's over.
We were out after week 1, week 2. Yeah.
So with Becton, I was pretty much saying all offseason, I wouldn't want to give up on him yet. But at a certain point, you're like, you're talking 3 injury-ridden seasons, and it's like, I can't rely on you. You're telling me that I have to. I mean, and that's one of the question marks that we had about him to begin with. Like, he's so big, and are his joints going to be able to hold all that weight, right? Like, are his knees going to be able to hold up and stuff? And sure enough, it's been knee injuries the past 2 years. So,
yeah,
I mean, obviously he's going to be rosterable next year, but do you think about trading him? But who's going to want to trade for him? So, I mean, the Jets are in a weird position, but the fact is I don't know where the Jets are going to draft this year. I don't even know who's going to be a free agent from the tackle standpoint next year. Dwayne Brown's 37, and I know you signed him for a 2-year deal, but we'll see how well he's going to play this year. And I think that part of the reason they gave him the 2-year deal is because, we're not so sure what we're going to be able to do at tackle next year, but the Jets need to seriously consider, drafting a tackle possibly in the early rounds if a guy of adequate talent is there. And they also need to think about maybe spending some free agency dollars, a good amount of it early in the free agency period into a tackle, because you can't rely on Becton. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you go into next year like almost acting like Becton's not on your roster. Anything you get from him next year is a positive or a plus. But you have to act like Dwayne Brown is your starter, and whether that be trading for a tackle, whether that be drafting a tackle, whatever it may be, you just can't go into the season with Becton as relied on to be a starter. And like you said, Dwayne Brown is 37 years old. He's going to be 38 next year. So do you want to rely on him? I think this year you're going to get near average tackle play from him. But who's to say that he doesn't drop off, or next year he's not going to be a worse player than he is, this year. So they have to address tackle now. Kyle, with that being said, the Jets should have drafted Aquano, right?
No. And I did put the tweet out there and I said, like, hey, listen, even if I had a time machine and I knew Becton was going to get hurt, I still would not go back in time and draft Aquano over Sauce, because Sauce is the better player, period.
Yeah, that and I think just to really kind of quickly squash that, it's like the drafting Sauce and having Becton, again, we didn't know what his injury, we didn't know that he was going to get injured, obviously. So you're taking the risk on Becton being what he was his rookie year and hopefully continuing with better health than he did his first 2 years. With Sauce, if you draft Aquanu, you get rid of Becton, there is no Sauce. There is no chance on Becton. So they were taking the chance on Becton to draft Sauce, which is completely worth it. Because I think in a vacuum, okay, if you're talking about, you're starting right tackle, left tackle versus Sauce Gardner, if they were at similar level to the same level, okay, draft that tackle. But in that situation, you also throw in Becton, the chance on Becton, and the talent of Sauce. And Sauce, to me, was pretty clearly a better prospect than Aquanu. So I would rather take the better prospect anyway. So I'm not going to kill them for that. Again, more Monday morning quarterbacking. Now, obviously, Dwayne Brown gets signed 2 years, about $22 million next year. It doesn't seem like they can get rid of him overly easily. They'll be taking quite a bit of dead cap if they did cut him. So it doesn't really seem like good, or there's not a really good point of cutting him. Hopefully next year he's your swing tackle and you get a stud in free agency or in the draft, because I don't really want to screw around with offensive line. But with that being said, what are your thoughts on Dwayne Brown? Did you look at any of his film? I'm already done with it. I didn't record the show on him, but did you look at any of him? What are your thoughts about him in general?
Nah, I'm just waiting for you on that one, man.
Okay. And then with that, how long do you think it takes for the offensive line to gel? Like you have Fant moving, and I want to get your quick thoughts on that. Like Fant Do you give him left tackle money now? Like, what do you do with Fant? Because if you don't sign Fant, now you're talking about, maybe replacing Fant next year, replacing Dwayne Brown, replacing Connor McGovern. Like, it's just too much moving pieces for the offensive line. So thoughts on the offensive line gelling, and then, Fant and his situation going forward in terms of just being a long-term piece for the Jets.
It is tough. And I said that after Becton went down with the injury and we knew how serious it was, that the Jets need to really consider locking up Fant long-term. But the problem is Dwayne Brown's never taken a snap at right tackle. He's exclusively been a left tackle. And, the tape, years worth of tape, shows us that Fant is clearly better on the left side. So he's going to have to play right tackle now. And, the difference in left tackle versus right tackle money, I don't think it's that stark anymore.
Yeah.
But I seriously would try to, if I'm Joe Douglas, see, the thing about Joe Douglas versus Mike McCagnon is he's really set on, I have a number and this is my number and I'm not going to waver for it, take it or leave it when he comes to signing people, which is good in a way. But the Fant thing is interesting because you have this player who, you've intended him to be on the right side, but he's clearly better on the left side when he's had to go there several times throughout his Jets career. And now he's back at right tackle again. So it's a really weird situation. But if you're the Jets, you can't be in this position next year where, you're potentially losing several starters on the offensive line. It's never good to replace all those pieces in one given year. But they need to seriously listen. If you're Joe Douglas right now, George Fant has been more reliable for this team than Mekhi Becton. So try to find a way to get that deal done. But that's why, and now easier said than done. And that's why he gets paid the big bucks. And I only talk through a computer. So I don't know exactly what numbers and that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, they need to give him a contract. In terms of McGovern, listen, I don't know what they're going to do at center. Unless he plays absolutely terrible this year. I'm sticking with him still too. I'm higher on him than most Jets fans. And Dwayne Brown, I guess we'll see. It's hard to think that he's going to be above average at this point. Because he is as old as he is. He did make the Pro Bowl last year, but that's kind of, in terms of the offensive line gelling, I think it's going to take them a couple weeks before they hit their groove. Dwayne Brown is, the practices I went to, I was at the Falcons practice on the 19th. And he wasn't even working with the starters at all at that point. You still had Chuma in there.
I think he's had 2 practices right now of full team roast. And the thing with that too is, like, we have to note that he did play with under the Texans with a similar system. At least he said. Obviously, you have Laken Tomlinson, who's been in the system. You have, and like with McGovern, I agree with you. Like, he's a guy who I think you sign, and if you can replace him in a few years, replace him. Like, if they drafted some, 3rd round center prospect and we liked him, sure. But I just don't like to be changing centers for no reason. Like, I don't want to cut him and then have to reach for a center who's not going to be as good. Like, I think he's rosterable enough, or like he's an average level center where I'm cool with extending him for a few years while you figure out left tackle, while you figure out right tackle, while you figure out, listen, like, Laken Tomlinson's great right now, but where is he going to be in 2-3 years? Like, do you want to turn over left guard, center, right tackle, left tackle all the next couple of years? Like, no. So for me, I'm okay with McGovern being extended. And then with Fant at right tackle, and somebody in the chat mentioned it, I think that he's maybe a little bit overhyped at left tackle and maybe a little bit underhyped at right tackle. Like, people act like he's a stud left tackle and a terrible right tackle. Like, I think he's going to be an average-ish level right tackle, and it also aids him in just terms of like general fan consensus about how well or how bad or how poorly he plays. But GVR has a part of that too. Like, GVR does not make anybody look good at right guard, especially when you're playing next to him at, being Fant when he was playing next to him 2 years ago or whatever it was. So
those are really good points. And I do agree with that. Yeah. The right tackle versus left tackle thing, there's definitely a difference, but it's not as stark as people make it out to be.
No. And I think people, just in terms of the difference, like how much to pay the positions too, like you mentioned before, like what does a left tackle make $1 million more than a right tackle if they're of the same elk? Like, I don't think it's anything crazy. But with that being said, yeah, I almost treat Becton like he's not on the team next year. So let's say, and I will go to this really quickly, and then we'll go to some other stuff, then notes against the Giants, and we'll do the roster prediction. But right now, I know it's hard to say because it's August 26th or whatever it is right now. what would it take for you in the offseason? Hey, I don't know, the Seattle Seahawks call and they're offering a trade for Becton next year. What would be the price you'd be willing to take for Becton to get him off the team? I mean, it's really hard because of the injury. I have no idea his value around the league right now.
If they give me a third rounder, I'd definitely take it.
I was kind of on a third rounder too. That's crazy thinking about the 11th overall pick, a guy who we had a lot of faith in. But like we said, Kyle, and it's not like people always kind of, when Becton comes up, it's, oh, he didn't have an injury history. He never had an injury history at Louisville. But we were two of the people when they drafted him said, hey, we know he doesn't have an injury history, but he's a massive human being. And now that he's had 2 knee injuries to the same knee, right? His body, he's never going to be 100% there, and his body's going to compensate for it, whether it be his ankle, his calf, his thigh, whatever it is. When you have an injury, the rest of your body compensates, and it puts you at higher risk for other injuries. So I just don't see him being a healthy player throughout his career. So I think, you hope.
I mean, the thing is, he's had all these injuries in his first 3 seasons. I mean, typically, those are your healthiest seasons in the NFL. It's like when guys get older. I mean, dude, I'm 33 now, and you're what, 30?
29.
29. Okay. And you'll be 30 in February, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, shit, even playing basketball, with some students and stuff, now that I'm in my 30s, you get a little hamstring injury or something like that. Or when I was doing deadlifts and I guess I was doing, too many reps or whatever. And I hurt my lower back, and my lower back was hurting for months, maybe 5-6 months or something like that. If I had an injury when I was in my young 20s, I recovered way faster. So players, usually towards the end of their careers, once they start getting around their 30s and stuff, that's when the injuries really start to pile up. So with Becton, he might not have had injury history before, but he's had it for 3 years early in his career. So what are you expecting for the later years of his career? It's a big gamble. So the thing is, too, is, okay, this is his 3rd year with the Jets. You're going to have to okay, so the Jets after this year, they have to decide on the 5th year option, right? Am I right about that?
Yep.
Okay. So
there's no way they extend that, but there's no way.
Okay. So then you only have him under a contract for 1 more year. So that's an uncertainty. So if you can, roll the dice, take the gamble and get a 3rd rounder, I think that's worth it. It sucks, but
it's not enough. Damn it. No, it is what it is. That class, man, is looking absolutely brutal. But with that being said, now moving on from our 1st round pick from 2020, who we were hoping to get a 3rd round pick for next year. What are we hoping to get for Mr. Denzel Mims, who requested a trade? What are your thoughts on that entire situation? I don't think it's surprising. You're seeing him come in as a 7th receiver in the first preseason game. Yeah, he makes a couple of catches.
Which is BS. I mean, Irv Charles should not be playing over him.
Was it Irv Charles or was it Calvin Jackson? And
I don't know. I don't know who it was, but whoever.
Yeah, nonetheless, though, we didn't think he was necessarily going to make the roster. He comes in as a 7th receiver. He makes a play or two. Holy shit. Yeah, Mims is back. Penalty. Mims is back, making those catches, drop.
And it's little things lining up on the line of scrimmage or not lining up on the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's, to be honest, that's high school level mistakes, right? That's something you'd expect out of a sophomore playing a varsity football game for his first time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about you're a 3rd year NFL player and you're still making these bullshit mistakes when you just had a full season worth of them the previous year. Right.
Kyle,
so, you came back in much better shape and stuff. But, I mean, come on.
Listen, Kyle, I'm interrupting you very, very rudely. He doesn't know the playbook this year because he had food poisoning last year. Do you not realize that?
True. Yeah. And then he had COVID, too. So
I know. It just brain fog for an entire year. You can't line up right. At a certain point, we make too many excuses for these players. Dude. The guy gets 9 catches, 5 penalties. He was wide open versus the Panthers. He didn't learn, people were saying he's loafing in practice. We baby the shit out of our players as Jets fans, but we gotta be realistic with this guy. He clearly, whatever it was mentally, he just couldn't hang year 2, 3. I don't give a fuck. Oh, his feelings were hurt because other receivers were brought in. It's a fucking NFL. Grow up. Be tough. Grind. And like you said, Kyle, he's making mistakes that freshmen make in high school. I don't listen, and it's a completely different game with a completely different sets and all this stuff. But I can't even think about how many false starts or not false starts, but formation penalties and stuff we had in high school. Guys didn't do that in high school, really. People know where to line up. So You're not lining up right. You're dropping the ball. You're potentially loafing in practice. And like the thing is, we have to realize, and we acknowledge it, Kyle, but we don't know 95% of the information these guys have. So if they're seeing him in meeting rooms, he's not engaged, he's not taking notes, he's not answering questions right. Why are they just going to throw him out there? Like I get he can run fades and he can get yak and stuff like that. But the thing is with this offense, like people think it's so stagnant where, well, he could just play this position. That's it. That's all the Jets coaching staff has to do. Okay. Well, what happens if you hurry up now and you call a different formation and, oh shit, Mims can't be the X. He has to be, tighter to the line of scrimmage, and he has to line up as an inside slot. Like, does he know what he's doing there?
And even so, let's say he's playing the X in that one position and he's running these couple of routes every given week. Teams are going to pick up on that. Oh, well, this is what they do with Mims when Mims is in. So, okay, so we're going to know, what we're going to have to do with our coverage accordingly. So, you're really hamstring yourself as an offense when you have a player that's, so limited in what he can do. And that's the one thing that I really like about the way that the Jets receiving core is currently stacked up is I do feel that there's a good amount of versatility with, these guys like Moore and Wilson. Both of them can play inside and outside. So I like that a lot.
For sure. So something in the chat, which I'm gonna get to the chat in a little bit, but something in the chat mentioned Mims and a 6th for Carolina's 4th, like kind of like the Herndon trade. I don't know if it was Carolina they said, but what are you looking to get for Mims? To me, like Joe Douglas fleeces people, but my general feeling right now is like, just because, again, giving Joe Douglas some credit, I think you get like a 5th round pick for Mims. I don't know.
That seems about fair. I mean, there's a part of me that's going to be a little disappointed if that's all they get.
Mims and a 3rd for Roquan Smith.
Oh God. Yes.
Okay.
I really liked. All right. So I don't watch a ton of Bears games. I really liked Roquan Smith's college tape.
Oh, yeah.
I heard that he started off a little slow in his NFL career and that he's been getting a lot better. I think he was like Pro Bowl or All Pro last year or whatever. Dude, I almost do it for shits and giggles at this point because, we shit on PFF all the time. But look at pretty much any linebacker's PFF rating, and they're all dog shit. Like even Roquan Smith is like a 40-something PFF grade. CJ Mosley like a 40 PFF grade.
It has to be something with like completions over the middle, and they don't understand like man match or like spot, like whatever it is. Like there's a lot of completions over the middle. So like, okay, well, let's say I don't know, you're the strong side hook and I'm the weak side hook, and then it gets completed in front of you, but I'm near it because I'm a near hook. Like, do they rank that as, oh well, he gave up a reception? Like, I don't know how they do the rankings. That's why I don't put any value.
And they don't really disclose that to people too. So I mean, but they're gospel though.
Yeah, Dewan Landry's like one of the best safeties of all time. With that 1 year he had, he was like a 95. It's like, okay, Dewan Landry, but and somebody's mentioned it, Snowball.
No, Roquan Smith would be great because, all right, say it again. Who?
You can go to the Roquan thing, which obviously is a little bit of a fantasy. I think more realistically, Mims, Tevin Jenkins straight up right now. Do you do that?
Yeah, because Mims doesn't want to be here, and he's not going to play. He's not going to play a lot. So what's the point of having him here? Tevin Jenkins. I mean, the thing with Tevin Jenkins is now was he drafted more to be a guard or a tackle? Tell me, because I don't know.
I remember him being like a right tackle prospect who could play guard, but I thought he'd be worked as a tackle first and then guard if he wasn't
okay. So for whatever reason, the Bears coaching staff doesn't like him. It's again. Listen, Mims it's just not going to work out at this point. And if I can elaborate a little bit further, so we were really confused at the beginning of last season. Why does this coaching staff not like Mims? Why do they not like Mims? But after seeing the dog shit season that he had last year and so many of the mental lapses, and then we're still seeing those mental lapses this year. Now we know why they didn't like him. And it wasn't, mostly because of the talent. It was mostly because of, the mental aspect of things and the amount of, work that he's putting in. That's why they didn't like him. So, at this point, like sometimes you just got to cut your losses. If Mims isn't going to work out here, you might as well take a gamble with Jenkins, and that might not work out either, but it could. Sometimes the change of scenery works well for people. Yeah, so it could be good for both of them. Straight up, I would do it. The Roquan Smith dream, yeah, that's not going to happen. But that would be great because the Jets, you need to think seriously about getting out of that CJ Mosley contract really soon. So, and then what else do the Jets have at linebacker in terms of long-term solutions?
Yep. So Kyle, let's get into.
Are people still talking about Jesse Bates? Because apparently he finally reported back. I don't really have as much interest in that, truthfully.
I think you're paying for a little bit more of like a name and kind of like the recent success of the team than you are like the play. I think Jesse Bates is a really good safety. I just think that what you're going to have to invest to get him and then pay him, he would have to be like an elite safety to make it worthwhile. I don't think he's an elite safety.
I really see. The thing is, even like when we were talking about free agency prospects before we knew that the Bengals were going to franchise him, I wasn't super interested in that because giving all that money to a safety and listen, Joe Douglas. You think Joe Douglas didn't want to pay Jamal Adams, and I understand that Jamal Adams and Jesse Bates are a different kind of safety. Jamal Adams is more of that box type, and Bates is more of the standard free safety. Yeah. But Joe Douglas doesn't really value paying a safety that type of money. So yeah.
No, and now talking about roster cuts, we're going to do the 53-man roster prediction. I think the cuts are due August 30th or 31st, something like that. So with that being said, Kyle, is there any positions you're looking to add from the cut wire? To me right now, with more time and watching, LaMarcus Joyner blow a coverage in this game, I am very worried about safety, to be completely honest. I don't like anything after Whitehead, and I think Whitehead I think we kind of are going to agree he's an average strong safety. I don't think he's anything more. I don't think he's really anything less. He's about average to me, and I think his contract reflects that. So I am nervous about safety. If they can grab a linebacker at this point, anything past CJ is really, I'm not overly confident in. Is that fifth guy going to be Delshon Phillips, Marcel Harris, Hamza, Sherwood? So I would look there. And then offensive tackle, I would look there as well. Like, we were looking at Dwayne Brown before Becton got injured, which I get is because of Becton's history, and Dwayne Brown has a more consistent history, but at the same time, he's 37 years old, and the point is be safe. You don't want Max Mitchell or Chuma Edoga taking significant reps if one of Fant or Brown goes down. So I think they have to add another tackle. I would, at the minimum, tackle, safety, linebacker being like the third position I look for. But I am very concerned about safety at this point.
As am I. When I was actually doing my my roster prediction last night, and I was thinking this, out of all positions, I had serious questions about keeping several guys on there, whether they were going to make the roster or not. And I was thinking this position group's not so good. And wide receiver, I'd also put wide receiver in there as well, especially now that you're getting rid of Mims. I mean, because if you're just trading him just for a draft pick and you're not getting a player in return, or if you are getting a player in return, but it's not a receiver, there's some serious question marks about, okay, well, I like the top three. Yep. Well, if one of them goes down, what do we have after that? Yeah.
And that was something we mentioned, Kyle, like really early in the offseason, like just in terms of like the signing or after the signings were made. So maybe it wasn't early. Maybe it was right after the draft, right before the draft. But we said that, like, listen, last year we were confident in 5-6 guys, right? Like past Davis and Moore, you had Crowder, you had Mims, who we thought was going to have a better year. We had Cole. So we were kind of comfortable with our top 5. This year, I'm comfortable with our top 4, but I'm not comfortable with anybody at 5 or 6. So I think that adding, and it's just based on kind of what Jets fans can relate it to, like a Keelan Cole player at 5th receiver right now would make me much more comfortable than, hey, you're going to have some injuries. And there's going to be some times where Jeff Smith right now, assuming he's receiver 5, is going to be seeing some reps. And I don't want to see him seeing reps. So I could see a receiver being another late add. But it'll be interesting to see. Well, obviously, the final 53 is not going to be the final 53. There's probably going to be a fluctuation of like 4 to 6 guys who get cut after and are replaced. At least to me, I'm hoping, again, safety, linebacker, tackle, receiver, I can see it all. But before we get into the notes about the Giants game, or sorry, not the Giants game, the Falcons game. Yeah, the Falcons game, and then we'll get to the notes against the Giants, and then we'll go into the 53-man roster prediction. Kyle, what were your grand overall thoughts about week 1 of the preseason? I know you're at a wedding. Obviously, you had the whole Wilson injury, which kind of overshadowed the entire game. But quick thoughts on the first preseason game before we move on to the second one.
Quick thoughts. Tanzel Smart is a preseason warrior, but I don't know if that's going to do enough for him to make the roster.
Yeah.
Let's see. Highs and lows from Garrett Wilson. Let's see. What else is worth really talking about?
White's good.
No, he's definitely not. He's going to be an interesting point of conversation when we start to actually talking about Streveler's interesting. Well, I guess I'll save that when we actually get into our 53 man thing. Let's see. Okay. Bam Knight stood out week 1 for sure. Preseason week 1. His goal line.
You had one assignment, Kyle. You had one assignment to get your Bam Knight prediction right, and you're not going to get it right.
Yeah, no, I actually never questioned. So for example, his touchdown run was very impressive, but that was mostly just power and willingness to get in the end zone. And truthfully, just that one little example right here, you almost wonder if he's a better goal line runner than Breece Hall, maybe, which maybe not crazy to think because Mike Carter, Breece Hall, and even Tevin Coleman, none of those guys are great goal line backs. So they do keep 4 and they do keep Bam Knight. I mean, maybe you put him in certain goal line situations.
I think Carter's your best goal line back right now.
Probably. But, it's just a point worth of conversation. What else? Dude, Zach Wilson, that interception was absolute dog shit. He cannot be making mistakes like that. When I watched that, I literally wanted to throw up. And I know, you're being hard on the kid or whatever, and it's preseason. Yeah, it is preseason. But I mean, that is the most basic. How could you not see that linebacker there?
I just think he read that apex, the curl to flat, and just assumed when he got into his exit angle to the sideline that Corey Davis was going to be open there. Which you got to check that. It was a bad pick. It really was. But we'll move kind of past that. The defense, Tanzel Smart made plays, Uniga made plays. Will Parks plays they made were overrated in my opinion. But we'll move on. We'll move on to the next game because people already.
Yeah, Will Parks plays extremely cautious, man. Extremely cautious.
Yeah.
Zuniga, man, dude. I had a lot of trouble with whether or not to keep him. I'll say that because if you watch his college tape, you could see why he's a 3rd round pick. There's definitely talent there and stuff.
For sure.
He has ascended a lot as a player. He looked so terrible as a rookie. He looked lost out there. But he also looked really slow. He didn't look explosive at all.
Yep.
We didn't see him a lot last year, but when we did, like in that Bengals game where he had a sack on Joe Burrow, he looked explosive and stuff. And then we saw some of that in that Eagles game as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's go through we'll do kind of a quicker recap on the game because I put out a show, which go check that out, which didn't get a lot of traction. People don't give a shit about preseason apparently, but nonetheless, is what it is. This game, we'll go through the position groups. Quarterback, Kyle. Again, we'd run through it relatively quickly. White looked bad again, 12 for 17, 90 yards, but his accuracy, the way he leans
fades
back on his
out of
heels,
throws.
throwing ball, fades out of throws. To me, Mike White has looked pretty dreadful. And then Trevor comes in. I think this game he went through his reads a little bit better. It looked like he was going through 1 and 2, not just 1 and run. But obviously offers something that we don't have with Mike White in terms of
what was that dig route that he threw? Was it a crease concept?
Yeah, the crease concept over
that was
the
a
middle,
big boy throw. That was a big boy throw right
The
there.
anticipation of that window was very, very nice by Stravler. That wasn't like exactly like you said, a big boy throw. That's an NFL level throw. So his accuracy is better. I think his arm power is definitely better.
He has a very strange throwing motion. It's almost like he doesn't I don't know how to describe it, and I haven't watched a ton of him, so it's kind of hard to say. But it's almost like he almost kind of just flicks the ball. He doesn't have a huge windup or anything like that. It almost makes you wonder, could he push the ball downfield really far? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But he moves well though. And I was looking somewhere, and obviously this is not combine stats or something, but somewhere said he was a 4.5 guy, and I really doubt that because Russell Wilson's like a 4.55 guy. But I
could look up how fast he runs. I have access to what I got access to, so I could see how fast he runs. Maybe he ran 20 miles per hour. I don't know, but I could see that now, which is cool.
That is cool. Yeah, but he moves well. I mean, and so my thinking with him real quick versus Mike White is, listen, obviously Zach's the starter of the team long term, hopefully, inshallah, as the Muslims say. God willing. Joe Flacco is the backup. Okay. So that's your 1 and 2. But your third option, is if it's going to be Mike White, what's the upside there? And your third option, he's probably not going to be a good pocket passer anyway. And Mike White is not a good pocket passer. So if you have to roll for, if you ever get in a situation where we're down to our 3rd string quarterback, Streveler, while you're really going to be limited in what types of passing concepts you can run. At least he gives you that. Okay, well, maybe we can, run some triple option on this one play right here or whatever, or maybe we can, the quarterback can scramble on a third down or something like that. Like he gives you something that Mike White doesn't have. And from a passing standpoint, is Mike White even better at all? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't know.
It's tough because we haven't really seen a lot of Streveler. So, I mean, like we've seen like a couple preseason games, but from what we have seen, I can tell you this right now. This is not my 53-man roster prediction right now, but if I was Joe Douglas and I had to keep either White or Streveler, I would keep Streveler based on what I have seen.
I agree. And like the thing was with White is like, yeah, he had a good game against the Bengals, but he also bounced around from team to team for a little bit as well, just like Streveler did. I know Streveler was like the CFL or whatever it was, but
Mike White had a couple nice throws in that game. Like the one, all right. So the throw to Berrios, the touchdown pass to Berrios was really nice. That one stands out. The almost touchdown pass to Keelan Cole was, I guess, pretty good. But a lot of those throws was just like, linebackers are playing a little soft. Mike Carter's open in the flat. Let me throw it to Mike Carter, and Mike Carter makes 5 guys miss and picks up 15 yards. Like a lot of his yards were just gimme throws.
Yeah. So moving on to the running backs, Kyle. Actually, let's do offensive line first before we go to skill groups. The entire backups played, not one starter of the offensive line played. So when they're not running the ball well versus the Falcons, like starting defensive line, and people are losing their minds about it, I wouldn't. Isaiah Williams was terrible. I think the only guys who I was really watching who are going to make the roster was Feeney, Herbig, and Max Mitchell. And to be fair, like when you're watching the game, you don't focus in on one player the entire time. But generally, I thought Max Mitchell looked okay. I think Herbig looked okay. Feeney, not the most impressive game in the world from Feeney in this game, but I think your other backups did relatively well, at least the guys who are going to make the roster. Like we're not, I don't care. Isaiah Williams or Ross Pierce-Bacher or any one of these guys, I don't really focus on them because they're not going to make the team. Obviously, to make a really good play or a really bad play, I will highlight it, but I tend to stay towards the guys who are going to be rosterable. So offensive line, I wouldn't be so concerned. Hit on that if you want to. Tight ends from this game, Yeboah had a drop. Wesco had a holding and a false start, so he had 2 penalties. Not great for him. Cager is by far the most overhyped Jet right now on social media.
He's always been he's been overhyped for like 3 years now.
Dude, his first game drove me mad. Like seeing people talk about how, well, not mad. Let's be fair. Like I'm not crazy, but seeing people, Cager was great. Cager was great. And Kyle, like that.
He had almost a 90 PFF rating, Joe.
That he was the highest PFF Jet of that game, and people say they don't use PFF, but they clearly do because that's it's a combination of PFF rating him highly plus stats, 2 catches, 50 yards, whatever it was, and a touchdown, whatever his stats have been, and people just look at that, but they don't really, again, evaluate the situation. People are so result-driven over process, and it drives me crazy. I think 5% of the people out there are process-driven. If you were process-driven, you see he ran 2 wide-open slide routes, caught the ball, and ran for yardage that was gifted to him. Now, yeah, he has good, sure, for a tight end, he has good acceleration, he has good length.
Joe, if you're running that route on that play, how many yards you getting?
What did he get? Let's just say he got 20. I'm getting 10.
The one against the Falcons, he probably got close to 40, I think.
Okay, so he got 40. I get 20. I'm twice as slow as him. So let's give me 20 yards. Like he was wide open and ran for yardage and got tackled. People are like, oh my god! And then those same people are like, well, Rutgers' touchdown was wide open. He did the exact same thing that Cager did. There were just a lot more yards to run. Like it's so. And then this game, he ran. He had another wide open route, and then he had a choice route underneath of a clear route. Yeah, he decided to break inside. Cool. I think 99 of 100 guys in that situation would break inside right there. The one would be maybe Mims, who wouldn't cut it, who wouldn't cut inside. Cuts inside, catches the ball, runs for yardage. Like it wasn't anything impressive. Like so, Cager is being massively overhyped. Wesco not great. Yeboah, not great. So the tight ends did not show out well. But with that being said, none of them are probably going to make the roster. Maybe Wesco, we can talk about it. We'll talk about the 53-man roster prediction. But we have to stop with the Cager stuff. And with that being said, he is often injured and he can't block. So is he going to make the team? I would venture to guess no. But it is a little bit frustrating to hear all the praise.
I could tell you
it's
that
just not warranted.
when I was doing my 53-man roster prediction last night, I didn't even consider him.
Yeah.
Didn't even consider it.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on, and again, it's I don't want to be harsh on the guy, but I want to be fair, like for the people who come here for like the evaluation part of it. If there's a play you make and it's deserving, even if it's a 4-yard gain, like if it's a nice route, something was off, Zach Wilson's eyes weren't there, whatever it may be, the ball was dropped. Like we'll go through the process and talk about how important the process is and all of that and what he did right or wrong. And again, Cagers, the process wasn't anything. 99 out of 100 players make those plays.
All right,
that is what it is.
Quick, couple questions for you.
Go ahead.
Couple questions for you, and I'll promise to make this quick. So, which Dolphins player is being reported in trade rumors right now?
Gesicki.
Why?
Well, I don't know the real reason. I don't know if there's
what is
out
the
there.
reason everyone's speculating, which makes a lot of sense.
I would assume because he's not a fit for the how they're going to run that offense.
Because
he can't block.
Because he can't block. Similar offense the Jets are going to run, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. They came from the same place, I think. Yeah.
The free agents that the Jets signed this year, tight ends, good blockers?
Yep.
So if we're talking about tight ends, the Jets got some tight ends that can block. Okay. Cager can't. He is not making the roster. Period.
Bold prediction, but I agree. Moving on for running backs in this game, nothing overly impressive. Bam Knight had the impressive return. I think he had that one play where he bounced it where I wasn't a big fan of his vision. So Bam Knight didn't really do much of anything minus the kick return, which again I think is a part of why he may make this roster because Barrios is your primary guy. But let's give the Jets a benefit of the doubt, and we're up 17 points in the Jaguars. Do you want Barrios returning kicks, or do you want to save your investment a little bit? Maybe put Zonovan out there if you're getting blown out.
No, I signed Barrios to be a returner. I'm putting him out there.
If you're up 17, or you're down 17 in like the fourth quarter,
if I'm up, 17 is a. How many times in playoff games have the Patriots come back from a 17-point deficit?
Okay, yeah, sure, but I'm saying in situations where you don't need to use him, you could use.
If I'm up by 30, yeah, sure. Bam Knight, you can return.
Okay, Barrios goes down.
17 though, no.
Barrios goes down for a game. Who is the kick returner if Bam Knight's on the team? Tevin Coleman.
He's not bad there, but he's a little bit older, so I'd probably want to put the young guy out there.
Okay, I'm just saying it's a part of the reason they may use him, and the part with these guys that tight end 4, defensive lineman 10, receiver 5 or 6, you have to be multifaceted. That's how you make the team. And you heard Barrios talk about that a couple of weeks ago. Like he tried to learn every position because it's hard to cut a guy when they know all those positions and you're versatile. You want consistency and versatility from your backups. And I think Zonovan Knight provides some of that. Now I think he's probably a little bit overhyped for what he's doing right now, to be completely fair. Like you said, the touchdown, he ran to a guy, he drove his feet. The kick returns were nice, but again, let's not go crazy. But still, I guess we can give him kind of a thumbs up for this game. Receivers, Garrett Wilson, the catch was unbelievable. Obviously, I go over the route even in the free portion, I go over that route. The route wasn't the best. The body control was great. The dig route over the middle was good, unorthodox. Again, another thing I would like to ask him about, but I go over that in the review. So I thought Garrett Wilson for limited reps played really well.
How many drops do you think he's going to have this year? Make a prediction.
What's the normal number? Let's say the normal number it depends on how many targets you get, but I would say he's going to have 7-8 drops this year.
Okay.
Yeah. He's already has drop problems, and now you compile drop. No, I'm not going to say drop problems. There's a slight drop issue, let's say, so people don't get offended.
Do you think it's more mental? And
Yeah.
Obviously because he's a rookie, you're thinking more, and when you're thinking more, you're going to have those kind of lapses. Mm-hmm. But it's not so much a technique issue; it's more the mental. You think, right?
Well, the technique. I think it's more mental. I think there are some technical flaws in the way like he attacks low balls and something like that, like how he jumps into catches. There are some times that there are technical flaws, but I was going to say that, Kyle, like you add on the fact that his hands aren't the best, just in terms of consistency from down to down, and then you add on to that. Okay, now you're thinking about the playbook. Okay, based on this coverage, I'm going to run an out instead of an in, or whatever it may be. Because there's a lot of kind of like site adjustments and things you're going to do, or routes you're going to run differently based on the coverage in this offense. you're thinking about that and then catching the ball, it could be a little bit for guys. This isn't necessarily the easiest system to learn. So, yeah, he's been dropping some balls, but in this game, impressive. Other than that, from the receivers, like nothing's really come off. I think both Tyreek Black and what's his face? Calvin Jackson have been impressing me more than I thought they would. So I think they have a legitimate shot for the fifth guy on the team. I think Tyreek Black had more plays than Jackson in this game, but Calvin Jackson's route from the first game was really, really good, Kyle. Like that out route was very, very good.
I could say that the 2 practices that I went to, Jackson stood out.
Okay.
And he definitely looked better than Black at those 2 practices.
So what are your thoughts? I kind of ran through running back, tight end, receiver, like kind of by myself. So if you want to give just overall view of the skill positions and run through some guys before we move to the defense, and then we'll move to the Giants practices, and then we will move on to the 53 and hit the chat.
I don't know that I have anything really unique to contribute to these specific games. I mean, like unfortunately, I don't know how some other people, I don't have access to the all 22 for preseason games. Joe does. So I didn't really watch it other than what Joe put out. So I don't really know that I have anything unique to contribute there.
Yeah, but, and the thing with that too is, and Kyle, you know how it is. Like if you can get it in with some like the film and all that stuff, like you gotta. It's my lips are sealed with how I got that. And the great thing about that too, Kyle, which I'm not trying to like rub it into to anybody else or even you specifically, but like the film comes out like immediately after. So like it doesn't.
That's
seem
great.
Like it doesn't seem like I'm going to have to wait until like Tuesday to do a Sunday game. Like I'm going to be able to wake up Monday morning and do the film from the game, which shaves me so much time. And not like effort, but it just, I don't have to condense an entire film review into Tuesday and record Wednesday, then do the show on Thursday. So like, it gives me an extra day, which is awesome. But nonetheless, moving to the defensive line, Tanzel Smart to me failed to follow up his big games. Uniga failed to show up, follow up his big game. Nathan Shepard is playing against backups and not really making much of an impact. Solomon Thomas played a little bit longer than I thought he would. He didn't really make much of an impact either. So the defensive line to me in this game was disappointing. Bradley and I obviously had the strip sack fumble, which was good. Does it make the roster? Probably not. But the defensive line was disappointing to me in this game as a whole, because there's plenty of times where whether it be Mariota or Ritter or who was it, Felipe Franks at the end, were standing in the pocket.
God, he's garbage.
Yeah. So the defensive line, I was disappointed. I want to see Tanzel Smart follow it up. I don't think he makes the roster, to be completely honest, but I would like to see him follow up to at least give himself a shot. I think he's probably a practice squad guy, but
yeah, he should be. He plays hard. And he's one of these guys that practices hard too. You've been hearing for years now that he gets into fights at practices and stuff. So he's one of those guys who can actually push. If you're going to want a guy who's going to practice hard. Like, wasn't Victor Cruz a practice squad guy his first year or whatever? And then, the legend of Victor Cruz.
Well, at least he was on the practice. Oh,
he might have been injured. He might have been injured his whole first year, if I remember correctly. But there are sometimes those stories of, practice squad players who, they're just play hard. But you want guys who are going to push people. And especially, on the, offensive and defensive line, those guys are going hard in practice, harder than like a running back is. Anyway, yeah. Do you want to just get into the 53 man? Because I feel like sometimes like I'm holding back things that I might say or whatever.
No, that's okay. So I'll move through linebackers, corners, safety really quick, and then we'll talk about the practice against the Giants, and then we'll go. Again, I just want to give quick thoughts on it. Linebackers, nothing really top of my head. I think Sherwood made some plays. I think he's being a little bit overhyped by fans too for what like that dude. That play where the ball is checked down to the running back and he makes the hit in the hook zone. People are like, that's a great play. It's like he spot dropped into a hook zone. There was a route in front of him. He closed ground, made the tackle. It's like, it wasn't anything crazy. Oh, Jonathan Marshall's another honorable mention in terms of playing well from this game. He blew up that one screen, which again was right there and is expecting him to make that play. And the sack, he was unblocked kind of. So like, we're not going to go crazy about it. Safety, not much of anything off the top of my head, minus Joyner blowing a coverage, which is not great. Backups, I can't really think of much of anything. Corners, Hall got roasted by Pitts, and then the one play in the touchdown he gave up, he didn't have terrible technique there. He's just not athletic. Like there's going to be some times he's going to get beat just because of lack of athleticism. Past that, other corners, I can't really think of much of.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is a freak, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he is a freak. So
He's
moving on to
like-
the Giants practice, though, we'll just because again, that's almost old news, and we'll run through this pretty quickly, just because again, it's practice. Who really cares? White continued to struggle, Kyle, which again was based on reports. Do we trust exactly who's putting it out? Not necessarily all the time, but White struggling, not something crazy to me. I think he is not a good quarterback. We've been on that for a little bit now. Mims also apparently struggled to separate. He had one nice catch, but he struggled to separate. Again, not overly shocking. His routes are inconsistent, to say the best at this point. Another guy who struggled, Joe Flacco, was apparently looking pretty shaky versus the Blitz. And it kind of trickles in when you think about like Flacco playing really well in Jets practices and he goes against other teams, he doesn't play as well. Like, is he benefiting from playing the Jets defense consistently where they're just rushing forward, not really able to hit him? So he's able to stand in the pocket and deliver, and he's not nervous about it. Where then he goes to play the Giants and maybe they're doing a little bit more, they're probably not hitting the quarterback, but it's a little bit more live.
He played decent. He played decently well against the Falcons. Not that they were doing anything crazy. I mean, I don't really think that they were blitzing him a ton.
Yeah, I think the Giants have a better team than the Falcons, though, too. Like I think the Falcons are maybe a 3, 4, 5 win team, where the Giants are maybe 6, 7 win teams. So they're a little bit up, or a little bit of an uptick in competition. But the good thing is with the Jets practicing against the Giants is I'm sure they're going to have a lot of similar concepts in terms of defense schematics to the Ravens. So it's obviously a benefit, but he struggled a little bit. Past that, there were some drop passes, which I want to mention, Kyle, and that's another thing that we're hearing: drop passes in practices. Is this a thing the Jets may struggle with? You know, you had Corey Davis who had some drops last year. You have Garrett Wilson who had some drops. So you have Uzama who doesn't necessarily have the cleanest hands consistently. So could the Jets struggle with drops a little bit this year? And I did hear Garrett Wilson played well.
They might, but
but
Conklin's going to have a lot of receptions this year. You know, he might not have the highest yards per catch average, but he's going to have a ton of like check down catches, I think. And he's got really solid hands. And our boy E. Moore has really solid hands too. So yeah, they might have some drops, mostly from Davis and Wilson, but I don't think it'll be such a huge issue. You know, I will say this: I do think that sometimes when players drop balls, it's on the quarterback to a certain extent. And one thing you can say about Zach Wilson, he doesn't have a super clean spiral. He doesn't. So,
yeah.
You know, a couple drops this year might be based on Zach Wilson. You know, it's mostly on the receiver, but you know.
And you heard Garrett Wilson kind of mention that, just in terms of like, okay, you know, he Joe Flacco takes some heat off of the ball, which is part of Zach Wilson's problem. Listen, you don't want to fire a slant 100 miles per hour when the guy is wide open over the middle. Like, you want to put some touch on it so it's an easier catch for the receiver. You hear like receiver-friendly balls. That's what they're talking about. So, yeah, and then past that, the Giants moved the ball in the Jets defense. And I'm not looking too much into it. Two last kind of notes before we get into 53. Kyle, DJ Reid went down. Very concerned at that point. I'm like, oh, here it comes. You know, starting corner now. Bryce Hall's, and like automatically I'm like, Bryce Hall struggled. Now we're going to talk about Bryce Hall as a starter for the first couple of weeks. DJ Reid has hamstring problems. JJ goes down like immediately after that. He's grabbing his ankle, went down awkwardly or whatever they said. And they both came back into practice. So knock on like 1,000 pieces of wood. Is the Jets like just the fact that Zach Wilson goes down, we think it's an ACL, he's back. DJ Reid goes down, automatically assuming the worst. Think he's down. JJ goes down, I'm assuming the worst. He comes back. So like, is the Jets injury luck changing at this point? Like, and please
no, because Becton went down a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
but it is nice sometimes when you think the worst is going to happen, especially with Zach, man. Like, dude, that I was so upset. You know, my mother-in-law, she was like wondering why I was so sad at the wedding, and you know, she doesn't totally understand. And like, it wasn't personal or anything. It's just like, dude, if he went down and we didn't see anything, like it's such a big question mark. You don't know what he is going into year 3. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that we averted that one.
Now with Reid, they apparently Saleh was non-committal on him playing against the Giants. Are we starting to get worried a little bit about his hamstring, because his hamstring's been flaring up kind of all offseason apparently, or seemingly, and now he's might sit out the game. We haven't seen him in preseason at all.
He should sit out.
Yeah. So are we concerned at all about a hamstring? Because hamstrings are injuries that
it can last all year. Yeah.
Yeah, they can linger. So I'm a little bit nervous about DJ Reid, to be completely honest. It's at a low % right now, but not seeing him consistently throughout the offseason. Now him not playing any preseason games, him having an injury in practice of the day. where he was grabbing his hamstring. Is it the same hamstring he's been struggling with all offseason? So now did he flare that up even more? Like, I'm a little bit concerned with DJ Reid at this point.
As you should be, and as am I. But I'm at this point, it just sounds like I'm assuming it's just like tightness, not like that he has like he straight up pulled it, or God forbid that what happened with Tyron Smith, where it's like I heard off the bone. I had never heard that before with a hamstring injury, that it was off the bone. It was the first time I heard that. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like it's anything like really severe, but it's just tight. But the thing is when you have tightness like that, you have to rest. So, rest him all the way up until week 1. And, he is a veteran. He obviously works hard. So you're just going to trust that he's going to be physically and mentally ready to go once September 11th rolls around. But if he has any bit of tightness in that hammy, he should not be playing, even though this is the final game to gear up for the regular season. No, sit him. He needs rest. Otherwise, that hamstring might stay tight.
Yeah. You want him to be 100% healthy. And Sneakers and Boots just mentioned it in the chat, which I could see. At least I could see the live chat. We'll get to the entire chat before we get. Would
you agree with this statement? Because this is something I've been wondering in my head, and I do think that I'm correct about this. I would say that this Jets coaching staff is the most cautious when it comes to injuries than any other coaching staff that I can think of since I've been following the team closely.
Yeah, I would say so. How much do I pay attention to the other teams and how they handled injuries?
I'm just talking about the Jets. I'm just talking about our Jets. I'm not talking about any other teams across the league. But I do think that the league in general was moving towards being more cautious and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Although joint practices seem to be a thing that most teams are doing nowadays and stuff, and that seems to be more of a recent phenomenon.
Yeah.
And naturally, when you're going against guys from the other team, you're going to hit them a little bit harder and stuff, so that can cause injuries. So maybe I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here.
And with that being said, too, like with the Falcons, like I think the Jets get a lot more from those practices than they do from the games, because you can script, okay, hey, run a cover 3 beater. We're going to be in cover 3 here, like see how the players react. So I think you get up more from those practices. But with that being said,
truthfully, it was really efficient, because you had on the one field, you had the Falcons starting O versus the Jets starting D, and on the other field, you had the Jets starting O versus the Falcons starting D, and you have both things going on at once. So you can get a lot accomplished in a short period of time.
Yeah. And now, with that being said, the last thing I want to touch on about the game, I just forgot it, and it came up to me because Sneakers and Boots kind of mentioned it, talking about cover 3. What are your feelings on the defense this preseason? Just base cover 3. To me, I kind of said it in the review, like, which I don't want to like say it like, oh, Arthur Smith's a tryhard, but he kind of was a tryhard this game, and just cover 3 beaters, tight formations, just kind of not like doubling down. That's not the word I want to say, but kind of confirming that the flat would be even more delayed, because we know that the immediate flat in a cover 3 is one of the weaknesses. And then you run a tight formation, and you're running play action, that's really going to hold that curl to flat in terms of getting into the exit angle. So you just consistently attack the outside right there. So they ran a lot of that now. But are we concerned about the spot dropping base cover 3? Are they going to run more man match in the season? Do they run? Obviously, they ran 6 last year. They ran 4. They ran 3. They ran cover 1. So it's not going to be just base cover 3. But are we concerned?
I am a little bit concerned, honestly. I can say this: pretty much a lot of people that have come from the Pete Carroll tree, where it's heavy cover 3, have not really been successful head coaches. Now, yes, the former Falcons head coach Quinn, he almost did win a Super Bowl. You look at Gus Bradley, a lot of these guys haven't been that successful, and it is, very vanilla. And I think some of the reasons why the Seahawks had so much success, was they just had really good personnel. I mean, like, you had Sherman, who's a Hall of Fame corner. You have Earl Thomas, who, maybe if his career's low, he has a good shot at making Hall of Fame. I don't know if he will, but he has a good shot. Cam Chancellor was out of this world type of safety. Bobby Wagner's probably a Hall of Fame linebacker. And then they had a lot of good pass rushers there too. So a lot of it's just really good personnel. And I think that, Saleh thinks that, if I just have like good depth, fresh guys, good pieces, this defense will work, because players can play fast when they know what to do, and we don't confuse them too much. I am getting a little concerned that it is going to be a little bit vanilla. And at times it certainly was last year. They were running a lot of cover one early in the season last year. So, I mean, obviously every defense is going to switch it up or whatever, but I am a little concerned with it being vanilla. But then again, I also wouldn't read into it too much because it is just preseason. So,
yeah, my thing
obviously,
is like if you're going to be doing like base cover 3, like at least like man match it instead of like spot dropping. So, are they showing spot dropping for the preseason, or like because you think it's going to be simple, like if it's a simple cover 3, but you play it really well in man match, like or zone match, it could be really good. But I don't think even if you know your assignment, spot dropping anything it's just not going to work in the NFL nowadays. So are they simplifying it so much where they're not even doing what they're supposed to be doing in cover 3? Because like it does get slightly concerning because why are they not practicing what they're going to do in the season? I can't take the spot drop stuff.
Yeah, it's quite annoying. Yeah, it's so easy to exploit. The thing about man matching is, actually, I don't want to get into that right now, but I did see someone Art Vandalay challenged me in the chat. He said that Earl Thomas is a Hall of Fame safety, Kyle's antics aside. Hey, listen, I'm an Earl Thomas. Well, maybe not so much his personal life or whatever. I'm a Texas Longhorns fan. I like Earl Thomas. He's one of the few great players that we've had come out in the not so near. I mean, like Texas football's been really shit as of lately.
Yeah.
So I like Earl Thomas. I don't know that you're right that Earl Thomas is a better safety than Sherman was a corner.
Yeah,
that's hard to say.
Hard.
Sherman was dominant for a long time, and then he also was pretty good when he went to the 49ers too. Whereas when Thomas went to the Ravens, he wasn't as good. I could say that Thomas was more of a unique player than Sherman because Sherman was mostly like a one side of the field type of guy, whereas Thomas, he was the rangiest safety in the league, and no other safety had that kind of range. He's probably the rangiest safety in the league, since Ed Reid. And then there's been no one that rangy since then. So anyway, I'm a fan of Earl Thomas.
People are, I was just gonna hit on something in the chat. I completely blanked out. Nonetheless, so I mentioned disguising coverages. They need to do that more too. But the thing is, like, again, I don't care if you disguise a coverage. If you disguise a coverage, but it's spot drop, I just can't see it working. And Big Green asks what is spot dropping. It's just you're covering grass, you're covering a spot, you're covering that zone. Where like we're talking about man match and zone matching, you're playing the 1 to the 2 to the 3, so you're matching based on leverages, based on numbers, and guys who enter your zone, you play them like man coverage. Where spot dropping is you're literally dropping into just a spot and you're covering a 10 by 10 zone. You don't really follow guys. Where the more modern NFL, you're starting to match guys based on again if they're the 1 to 2 to 3 based on how the route concepts develop, and then with how the route concepts develops, it depends on like how quickly they get to spots in terms of like passing it off like fast to the flat or first to the flat and guys coming under. Like there's ways to pass it off, but it's a lot. It almost looks like man coverage, but it's zone. And again, it's based on who enters your zone and how you carry it. Where again, spot dropping is just okay. I'm gonna cover the hash. Right here.
So
like,
most people have played Madden. As far as I know, I haven't played the newer editions of Madden. It's been many years since I played Madden, but like. Whenever you run like a zone type of defense in Madden, when the players they're going to drop to a specific zone, like, oh, this linebacker. And like, before you pick the play, it has like the little graph of like, oh, this linebacker, he's got this little bubbled yellow area and he's going to retreat into this area. Right. So, the old Maddens, when I used to play it, they only had like, spot dropping in zone defense. Whereas like, with, when you're doing like, matching defenses, it's going to be based off of what the route concept is. So like, let's say if the 2 goes vertical, this guy might have to take them. If anyone's like interested in like learning the X's and O's from like a schematic standpoint and really trying to understand some of this stuff. And I read this book, and quite honestly, a lot of it's over my head, and I'm like nowhere even close to it. I'm very much a student of the game who's always trying to learn more. I read a good book that has like a lot of graphs and stuff. Last summer. It's called The Pass Coverage Glossary by Cameron Soren. Really good book, and he goes through all the different types of coverages out there. And whether it's stubby, stump, all this kind of stuff, cover 5, goes through it and like all the differences and different formations. If they're in 11 personnel. If they're in a 3-by-1 set, your defense would do it like this, because all that changes depending on what's the personnel of the team. How are they aligning their guys? Are they stacked in? Are they spread out? All that can change based on, and your coverage is going to, change based on that. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff. Truthfully, that book is something like, I feel like you can always go back and use it as a reference guide to when you're trying to figure something out. And honestly, I thought it was really good that I should probably even read it again. But anyway, I recommend that a lot. Anyway.
Yeah. So I hope we give a kind of a good description there, but moving on to let's do the 53-man roster prediction. I think we can, what are you laughing at?
Well, personally, I mean, you probably did a much better job explaining. I think I did a shit description, but anyway.
No, yeah.
Personally.
It's again, it's just passing off guys instead of just kind of covering a zone. Like you're matching a guy in your zone until there's another guy who enters your zone. Like you might match the 2 until the 2 becomes a 3. Then you match the 3 because the 2 is getting passed off to the safety instead of just, okay, I'm here. Let's just follow the quarterback and hope that he throws it to me. So that's what they're doing a lot of in the preseason. And like I said, like they're running, sail concepts and flood concepts and hawk concepts are just attacking the flat to the sideline. And again, that's a weak part of cover 3. And then when you're exemplifying that by running tight formation, so that the curl to flat is going to be later to getting out to that when you're running play action, and just based on the set, it's just like it was almost like, again, try hard, which it is what it is. But
if you were doing like a cover 3 spot dropping vanilla defense for like the vast majority of the game, it would never work in today's NFL. It would just be way too predictable,
which is what happened in that Falcons game.
The quarterback would figure it out. They would know how to exploit. I mean, every defense has its weakness, every single one of them.
Yeah.
So, that's why, you have some of these different coverages to switch things up based on this to keep the quarterback guessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then you have 30,000 different cover 3s. You have 30,000 different cover 4s. You have 30,000 different cover 6. Like it's crazy, but which is always good, like to have books like that or notes. Like Kyle, you've seen the note section of my phone. Like there's things I have to go back to all the time, So let's move to the roster section. I almost want to do it without the whole quarterback thing. Like, do you want to predict the roster after week 2 or 3 when Wilson's going to be healthy, or do you want to predict it with the whole quarterback thing that's going on right now? Because I have to change it up a little bit.
That's the way I did it. I did it with the current quarterback situation and with the assumption that Zach will not play week 1.
Yeah, that's brutal. Okay, I'm just gonna have to find a guy to cut, which is really unfortunate. Because I don't know who in my list I can cut right now. But with that being said, let's.
I mean, if you want to do it the other, I would have to think of. If we did it the other way, I'd have to think of who I'd want to add.
Yeah.
And if we're being honest, don't you think? And by the way, when I wrote my notes down and stuff, I said like this player might be brought back once Zach is back. Because when Zach is back, I think that there's going to be one of those quarterbacks is going to bite the dust.
Yeah. One of the what?
One of the quarterbacks is going to bite the dust.
Yeah, I'm really struggling finding a guy to cut right here because I thought I had it down pretty well, but I'll adjust it. I'll kind of again preface it by, okay, this guy gets cut after, or this guy gets brought back after. For me, the quarterback style, it's going to be Wilson, it's going to be Flacco. I personally would have it be Streveler. I think they carry Mike White, even though I prefer to get $2.5 million back for the 5th, the 6th round pick, whatever it is. Maybe you don't get that now because teams watch tape and they're like, this guy is not good. But nonetheless, I think it is 3. I think it's Wilson, Flacco, White to start off the year, and then once Wilson's back, you cut Mike White and you bring back on whoever else.
That's exactly what I said, and I did say that if it was me personally, I would keep Streveler because, I mean, what's really the upside to Mike White? I mean, like, I think when you put Mike White out there, your offense is limited, right? I think you're going to run less bootlegs and stuff with Mike White just because him getting outside the pockets. I mean, he just doesn't move that well. But even from him sitting in the pocket, he doesn't give you all that much in terms of him improvising stuff. There's not that much. So I'd rather go with Streveler if I ever get down to my 3rd quarterback because I feel like he might give you a little bit more. But yeah. Anyway, so we want to go to running backs.
Yeah, go to your running backs.
Okay, so running backs, I have them keeping 4. Reason being, I think they're gonna want to run it a lot this year. I like Tevin Coleman, and I think they do, but he's going to miss some games this year. Just look at his injury track record. And Bam Knight has pleasantly surprised, so I have him making the roster.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the same. Hall, Carter, obviously are locks. Coleman, I think people see like, okay, well, we have young running backs, so get rid of Coleman. But Coleman is at least, like, I don't want to sound offensive with this, but like, he's at least a jag, where he's like a rosterable guy where we're not necessarily sure if Bam or P. Ryan or one of those guys are. So I think Coleman as a 3 is a lock. And then I think P. Ryan maybe has a little bit of a fight for running back 4. Oh yeah, we'll get into that later. Never mind. Disregard. I think he might have a fight for the 4th spot, but I do think it's Bam because of some of the power he offers, and then his ability on special teams, which I think he might be being a little bit overrated by fans right now. But I think he would be the 4th running back if I had to guess.
Yeah, I really haven't seen much from P. Ryan this year. Or not this year. His whole tenure with the Jets. I know he's had a touchdown in what was it, a Dolphins game or something like that at one point in his career, but he's been very disappointing.
Yeah, tight end, Kyle. So this is a hard spot for me because I have trouble seeing if the Jets are going to keep like 4 tight ends and it's going to be Wesco as the 4th, or they're going to keep Baldwin as the 3rd, or as the 1 fullback, but like a 5th running back. Obviously, I didn't keep Baldwin at this point because I have Conklin, Uzama, Ruckert, and then Wesco is my 4th. I think they keep Wesco because it offers them both the versatility of playing tight end and playing fullback. Whereas if, let's say, you didn't keep Wesco, let's say, okay, now you bring on Cager or Yeboah as a 4th tight end, you still need that blocker in Baldwin. So I think Wesco makes a team because he could both play tight end and fullback. So they kind of save a spot, instead of having 2 guys, they have 1 guy to fill both roles. So I even though I don't love Wesco being the 4th tight end, I'm not infatuated with the guy, but I do think he ends up making the roster and filling both the tight end and the fullback role. But I could easily see them keeping Baldwin as well and getting rid of Wesco. So I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. Yeah,
I wondered about that as well. And truthfully, for a couple of months now, I was saying, was Wesco even going to make the roster, and is Baldwin better than him? Because Baldwin, he's impressed at times, but when I just look at the amount that Wesco has played last year in this offense, it's hard for me to see him not making the roster. They use him a lot at fullback. They use him a lot as a lead blocker. We don't see him so much, as a sifter on cutbacks and stuff, but he could do that just fine. In terms of being like
that's not a block where you're going to drive a guy or anything like that. So you could just throw like Ruckert or Uzama or something like that to do sifting. You want Wesco for like 22 personnel, dive up the middle, leading against a fullback or something, or leading against a linebacker or something like that.
Yeah, and when he can line a guy up and it's like in a tight area where like a linebacker really doesn't have much much of a chance to move around him, and he's got to take Wesco straight on, like Wesco can lay dudes out. In terms of inline blocking, he's definitely stronger as an inline blocker than Ruckert. So that right there is another reason why you'd want to keep him. So literally the reason I wrote for them keeping him is versatility. I would like to see more of him as a receiver, or I would have liked to, not so much at this point because now they have other tight ends that are better at that. So, but there's a lot to be desired there from him as a receiver, truthfully.
I think you can get more out of him as a yak guy too. Like he was not bad at West Virginia in terms of a yak.
Yeah.
So something like him, but there's gonna be people talking about Cager, and there's people in chat talking about Cager.
Yeah, he's not gonna make people miss, but he's not easy to bring down.
Don't when you go to a Cager, literally don't have to watch the film show. Just go to the highlights and tell me what he did on those plays that was spectacular, other than catching the ball and running wide open. Like he didn't do anything. So it just is what it is. Cager's not making the team to me. And like you said with Wesco, he gets that spot because I think if you carry Baldwin, you're going to carry a 4th tight end, but you're not going to carry Wesco and Baldwin. So I think you're getting 2 for 1 in Wesco. So he's my 4th. Past that, receivers, Kyle, I'll go first with this one. I have Conklin. I have Moore, Davis, Wilson, obviously, Barrios, obviously. To me, I probably carry Calvin Jackson or Tyreek Black over Jeff Smith because Jeff Smith hasn't done much of anything in my opinion, but I think the Jets like Jeff Smith for whatever reason, so he is the fifth. But I could easily see it being Calvin Jackson or Tyreek Black. I'm probably rooting for Black just because of like some of the size he offers, or Calvin Jackson. I think he runs routes pretty good, at least the limited sample size I've seen. But I think the Jets end up carrying Smith, and it's only 5 receivers.
Okay, yeah. So I have 5 receivers as well. The 4 are obvious. When I initially wrote this, I was writing it last night. I wrote Denzel Mims there as well. And then I saw the Mims news and I was like, okay, based on everything we've heard, coaching staff viewpoint of him, and the fact that he wants a trade, he's not going to play here a lot. Look at how late they're putting him out in the games. They're going to grant him his offer and trade him. So I removed Denzel Mims. I put Jeff Smith there just because Jeff Smith made the team before. He's been with the Jets for 2 years, 2+ years, made the team 2 years.
Yep.
Then I thought about it. I thought about it more, and I thought about
and you thought about it some more after that, and then after you thought about it some more,
today, maybe about an hour and a half before I met up with you on here, I saw a nice Calvin Jackson catch today at training camp, and then I thought about what I saw from him when I was at practice, and then I thought about that nice game-winning touchdown catch that he had against the Eagles. Really nice route.
Really nice. Yeah.
And then I started looking up his college production. Compare his college production as a receiver to Jeff Smith. There is no comparison. I mean, Jeff Smith was playing quarterback for a period of time in college. Now you could argue that, well, Calvin Jackson is like 25, so he's an old rookie. True, but he is still a rookie. So, there is a little bit more room for growth there, and he is already probably a more refined receiver. Now, he's not the biggest dude in the world, but I think there's more upside there. So I have it as Calvin Jackson as the 5th guy. Now, if a guy gets cut on waivers, it could very well be someone else that they get on waivers too. So, but I do have him making it initially. So.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And that route that he ran was really good. And again, I think like for me, Black just offers size that they don't necessarily have, but I could see any one of those 3. I just don't think that carrying 6 is worth it, because you're not going to tell me that even the 5th, you're not going to tell me that one of Smith, Black, or Jackson necessarily deserves it over like Curry or Zuniga. But moving on, Kyle, offensive line.
And the thing with Jeff Smith is like you always want to. We kept talking real quick. I know you want to move on.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
We're gonna. Maybe we can use him for gadget stuff.
Yeah,
but they barely ever did that last year. So if you're not doing that last year, you plan on all of a sudden doing it this year. So I don't see it happening. So I think Jeff Smith is a goner.
So offensive line, and I'll let you. You're going to go first on a lot of the defensive stuff. So I'm realizing I'm going first, just to transition. But to me,
so offensive line, or you're doing offensive line first.
Yeah, I was going to say
Gotcha.
Offensive line. You start with the defense. I'll give you the defensive line, which is a harder thing. With the 3 quarterbacks, they carry 8 offensive linemen. With the 2 quarterbacks, they carry 9. So to me, it's obviously Brown, Fant, Tomlinson, AVT, McGovern, Herbig, Feeney are locks. Past that, did I put Mitchell? I put on 1, 2.
I don't know that you
4,
mentioned him.
5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so sorry. So Mitchell's in there. I apologize. And that makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, Mitchell is the lock. He's the 8th. I think you cut McDermott and Adoga. At that point, if you carry 3 quarterbacks, you have 8 offensive linemen. I think that you could just get guys onto the practice squad who you could call up for a game who are just going to be as valuable as McDermott and Adoga. I think both those guys could make the practice squad. I don't think people are going to be lining up to sign them necessarily. So 8, when Wilson comes back, you carry another one, and that would probably be McDermott to the Jets. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
I'm sorry. I'm slow. Can you slowly read your 8 for me?
So we have Brown, Fant, Tomlinson, AVT, McGovern, Herbig, Feeney, and Mitchell are locks. Those are the 8. You carry those 8 until Wilson comes back, and then they probably bring back McDermott. I personally like Adoga more than McDermott. They're both absolutely terrible. So realistically, I think that one of these guys maybe initially makes it, but a roster cut is going to be the 9th offensive lineman. It's going to be a backup swing tackle.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, so we have a slight difference here. So I also have 8 offensive linemen.
Okay.
Um,
You carry an extra one when Wilson comes
yes.
back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually the first priority I have. They will add an offensive lineman. And I'll tell you who I think that will be if that's the direction they go in. All right, but Dwayne Brown, AVT, McGovern, Max Mitchell, Fant, Tomlinson, Feeney, but I have Adoga, whereas you have Herbig.
I
So that's
carry
the difference.
Adoga.
I know. I'm carrying Adoga. You're carrying Herbig, right?
Hold on, you're taking Adoga over Herbig?
I'm not saying that this is what I would do. I'm saying this is what I think they're going to do.
Are you confusing Herbig with McDermott? That's my question right now.
No, I'm not.
You don't think Herbig makes the roster?
I really, when I kept writing this out, he was one of the hardest cuts for me to make. He might have been the very last cut for me to make.
There's no way McDermott or Adoga make it over Herbig, in my opinion. Like I would bet a lot of money on that one. But hey, that's
okay. Well, here's my thinking. Okay, so look at your tackle situation. All right. So you already have. So, but here's the thing. All right, interior offensive lineman. Laken Tomlinson, one thing about him is he's an Iron Man. He doesn't miss much. All right.
Yeah.
AVT didn't miss much time on the interior.
I already know what you're going to say. I get what you're saying in terms of consistency and you have Feeney as the backup interior offensive lineman for all 3 positions. But at the same point, to me, Herbig is a much better player than Adoga or McDermott. So you keep the better player and you figure out tackle, because you could bring in a tackle who's going to be just as good, if not better, than McDermott or Adoga. I don't think you can just bring in another Herbig. While Herbig is not a good starter, I think Herbig is a good backup to have. So I really doubt they get rid of him.
I do not think that Adoga is a good backup tackle at all. But I do feel like the Jets are a little bit higher on him than you or I are. I mean, I didn't even think he should make the roster last year, but he did. And okay. I don't know.
So you have 8.
But that's the main reason why I kept him around. And I do not like this player. Anyone who watches these streams consistently knows that I call him a bitch and things like that quite frequently, because he does play like that. But for me, I feel like you already have some depth with Feeney on the interior offensive line, and both of your starters at guard, they're pretty healthy guys versus, Fant's missed some time and Dwayne Brown's a little bit older and stuff, and what else are you doing for tackle? And Max Mitchell's a young guy. So anyway, but I know. So you think I'm an idiot?
Yeah. That one I do, Kyle. I'm surprised that you have any of Adoga, McDermott making it over Herbig. Herbig's just a better player. I think that
I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have done McDermott over Herbig.
I think the Jets carry McDermott over Adoga because they seem to be obsessed with McDermott. I don't know what it is, but to the best of my knowledge, when one of the tackles went down, McDermott was the first sub in over Adoga. I could be wrong though. Nonetheless, I don't think they should carry either of them, and I think it should be a camp cut or a cut that is the 9th offensive lineman. But I think they carry Herbig regardless, whether it be 8 or 9. Moving on though, you're definitely wrong.
In terms of the player who I think that they would bring back, I think that once Mike White is eventually cut, I think that Herbig would be the player that they bring back.
I don't think Herbig is able to be brought back. I think he's signed to a team. Maybe,
but that's the risk you play.
No, I'd rather risk cutting McDermott or Adoga and bringing those guys back. Like now, you might have to risk a little bit with the first couple of games, not having necessarily a backup offensive lineman. That's not Max Mitchell, but they can get around that. I think they bring up a guy from the practice squad for a game, whatever it may be. Nonetheless, moving on.
But also, okay, think about it like this too. So the Jets waited how long to even bring Dwayne Brown in the building? So while we're talking for months about backup tackle is a need, and yeah, the Jets probably did think it was a need, but I think in their mind, part of the reason they waited so damn long is they have some level of confidence in Adoga. And Adoga is a 3rd-round draft pick versus Herbig is an undrafted guy. And we could say like, oh yeah, Herbig's film is better than what Adoga is. But I think also the Jets thinking is like, well, Adoga, maybe he can hit his upside or whatever. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's a good player. There's no part of me that's saying that.
We agree. I think you're wrong there. We agree to disagree. I think Herbig is on the team. I'm pretty confident in that one too. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Defensive tackle, Kyle. I'm going to give you the really hard defensive line. So give me your defensive tackles, 4, 5, 6, 12. How many do they carry?
Okay, so I have interior defensive linemen. I have 5 of them.
Same.
JFM,
Yep.
Sheldon Rankins, although I did think he, potentially, but
I
no,
think
he's
Rankins
going to
would
make
be a
it.
surprise cut. I think there's a chance he could be a surprise cut. I do.
I wouldn't be shocked. I
Okay.
mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but shocked? No, I wouldn't be. Quinnen, obviously, Jonathan Marshall, and Solomon Thomas.
I have the same exact 5. Now, I think the Jets there's a chance they like Nathan Shepard because he's a king of strain. But again, if you're straining, you're not good. Who cares?
When I was watching the most recent episode of One Jets Drive, I did hear that.
God, dude. So yeah, I think it's Marshall as the 5th as well. I would prefer it personally to be Tanzel Smart, maybe, but I like Marshall's upside and his athletic ability. Even though it looks like to me he lost some of his speed and gained some more weight this year. I could be wrong, just based on my eye.
If we're being honest, though, I don't think his speed, explosion, however you want to call it, I don't think it ever matched up to his RAS score. Yeah, his film never matched up with his RAS score.
I agree. So I'm carrying the same 5 as you, Kyle. I could see Rankins being a guy who they cut to save. I think it's like a $5 million contract, but they could save like 2.5-ish or 3. But nonetheless, I have the same 5. Now your defensive ends, Kyle. How many do you have?
6 edge guys. Bryce Huff, Vinny Curry, Jermaine Johnson, Carl Lawson, Michael Clemens, and Jacob Martin.
We have the same exact defensive lineman, which is cool because that's one of the most like hotly discussed positions for the Jets. I just can't see getting rid of a Curry, a Huff, a Marshall, any one of these guys on the defensive line for a Tyreek Black, a Jeff Smith, and a Doga, a Kenny Yeboah. I just think this team is too stacked there, and especially how much they preach rotation. I see them carrying 11 too. I think 10 is the absolute minimum. Maybe they cut Curry and they have 5 and 5, but I can't see any less than 10. For the people predicting 8 or 9, I think you're crazy.
That's crazy.
I think it's 10 or 11 easily. Again, maybe 10, but 11 is my prediction.
Yeah, I can't see it being anywhere lower than 10 because just look at how much he wants to keep that rotation going. You're talking Quinnen Williams, Quinnen Williams, a 3rd overall draft pick. He's playing like 55% of the snaps or whatever. So, if you're going to do that with a player who could potentially break the bank with his next contract, it's to keep him fresh. Well, if you're going to keep him fresh, you need to have a rotation going. If you're going to have a rotation going, you need a lot of players. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Kyle, moving on to your linebackers. Who do you have as linebackers? 5, 6, 7? I'm assuming it's not 7, but 5 or 6.
I have 4.
Really?
I have 4. I have Mosley, Quan Alexander, Quincy Williams, and God, I didn't want this. But I have Sherwood making it.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like the minimum is usually 5. I guess you could carry 4, but I have 5. I'm hoping that it's a camp cut who's going to be the 5th guy, but I have Mosley, Quincy, Quan, Sherwood. And again, I personally would carry Hamza and hope that his athleticism, kind of takes charge just in terms of his development. I think they like Delshon Phillips more than him because of special teams. So Delshon Phillips is my 5, even though I would do Hamza there. So.
Yeah, when I was going back and forth in my head about Hamza versus Sherwood, I feel like just based off things that I've heard the coaching staff say and just the mental aspect of things that they like Sherwood better than Hamza.
Yeah,
they drafted Sherwood ahead of Hamza. So and in terms of Delshon, I don't know. I don't think you or I really study special teams really. Like I remember doing this last year and I was saying what does Blake Cashman do well? Because I can't really think of anything. And somebody's like, well, he's a good special teams player. And they brought up some Anania stats. And I was like, okay, maybe he is. I don't watch special teams close enough. Mm-hmm. So I guess Delshon is, and maybe he could make the roster for that. But here's the thing though. If you're going to keep Hardy's also, and I get that they don't play the same exact position. You can't keep too many guys just because of their special team ability. So, and you have you literally signed a player exclusively for, and if Hardy does make the team, he's only making it because of his special team ability. So do you keep Delshon for that reason? Not so. Anyway.
I see. I already know what you're going to do. You're keeping 7 corners now, and Hardy's going to be one of them because you're making it Hardy 7 over Delshon Phillips 5. I know I could see that already, but with that being said, safety, I have Whitehead, Joyner, Pinnock, I think are locks, the top three, which I don't love at all. The fourth to me is Will Parks. I haven't been charting, but he's seeing early reps over Ashton Davis, or earlier reps than Ashton Davis. I think Ashton Davis is cut, and again, those are your four: Whitehead, Joyner, Parks, Pinnock.
Okay, and this one I don't really feel super confident in, but we do have another disagreement here. I have Ashton Davis, your boy,
Over Parks.
Over Parks. Truthfully, if we're being honest, I mean, I guess I could say I've been more impressed by Parks when I've seen them play, although I'm not really impressed. And Parks is also like, what, 29 or something like that?
Yeah.
My thing is, Ashton Davis is a Joe Douglas pick. He got him with that Leonard Williams pick. So you traded, you got an early third rounder for Leonard Williams. Ashton Davis has always been about the potential upside. I mean, this is a converted. So yeah, he's dealt with some injuries early in his career. You know, he didn't play football his whole career at Cal. I don't believe he was, a track runner for the majority of it. It's always been about the upside. He's very far from reaching it. And I just feel like they're going to try to bank on that more so than what you're going to get with Parks. But if I were to say right now, who's a better player, Will Parks or Ashton Davis, I would say Will Parks. But
even though his preseason games and like how well he's played, I think has been a little bit overrated. Like, listen, if you're in man coverage on a running back and then you blow up a screen, you probably should, because you're just looking at the running back and you could see it coming. So like, he's not as impressive to me as some Jets fans may think he is. To them, I don't know. I don't know if I just worded that right. Nonetheless, I think it's Parks. Corner, Kyle, I know you're carrying 7 because this is the last position, unless you plan on carrying 2 long snappers. This is one of the most interesting battles. I think Bawden versus Wesco. I think the defensive line is really interesting. And then you have the obvious of Sauce, Reid, Michael Carter II, Hall, Eccles, and I think that 6th spot is between Guidry and Hardy. To me, I personally carry Guidry over Hardy. Hardy's been disappointing since coming here. He missed another special teams tackle last week. I think they carry Hardy over Guidry, which I would not like them to do. Personally, I carry Guidry. So those are the 6 I have. Hardy over Guidry. I see that as a mistake.
I do think they kind of like Guidry, though, to be honest.
He's the only backup slot they have, and Hardy is playing late in preseason games. He's missing tackles. He's getting penalties. He's not been what we expected. So how much of it is Boyer and his pull and his sway?
And I did look it up. I looked it up, and if I read it correctly, according to overthecap.com, if they cut Hardy, they wouldn't have dead cap, I don't believe. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm reading it wrong.
No, I think they clear all of his cap.
So I literally wrote, would not be shocked if they cut him, no dead money. So
again, how much pull does Boyer have versus how much do they realize that he's not necessarily the guy they signed him to be? Because I broke down his tape at special teams with the Saints, looked pretty good. Doesn't look the same with the Jets right now, So
he gives you nothing as a corner. He gives you nothing.
Nothing. He's terrible as a corner. He's terrible. So I see value in Guidry being a slot guy, a backup slot who's a good tackler, who's young, who you could build with. Not necessarily build with, but like I could see Guidry being on this team as a backup slot for the next 4 or 5 years. Like I think it's a fine role for him, and it's an important role. So I would carry Guidry over Hardy. I think they carry Hardy over Guidry, which will make me upset. I'll get not pissed, but I wouldn't be happy.
When I was writing this out yesterday, I initially did not have Eccles. I only added him late. And then I thought, well, he played a lot last year as a rookie. So now you're going to cut a guy who played a lot as a rookie. So I added him late. And I think when I added him, I took away Herbig. Because I had like Herbig up until like the very end. And then I think I replaced him with Eccles. So, the thing with Eccles is the uphill battle for him is he's now competing against DJ Reid and Sauce Gardner, whereas he didn't have that last year. But I mean, I don't think I could be shocked if they cut Eccles when you just consider like what he's going up against. I mean, that's also a possibility, I think, if we're being honest. He hasn't really done anything this offseason. I mean, did he impress in the preseason games? I didn't really stand out to me.
So you're carrying 7, right?
Yeah, I have 7 corners.
And by the way, we didn't mention this. Sauce Gardner in that preseason game, if you don't watch the film reviews, he was actually really good. Like just based on those 2 plays I broke down in terms of like leverage and understanding what his responsibility was in cover 3. So I was really impressed with Sauce. By the way, I want to mention that, which rocked my Sauce jersey as of right now.
I will be wearing that week 1.
I'll be wearing that plus this guy. Plus this guy's coming out for week 1. So the special teams, Kyle, we're both gonna have the same Zerline, Man, Hennessy, right? Obviously. So
unfortunately, I could not put Pinero.
Unfortunately, you cannot. So that's it for the.
By the way, I really wanted to have Zuniga too. He was a late cut for me too.
Yeah.
You can that Eagles preseason game, and you highlighted a decent amount of his plays. You see that explosion that he does have as an edge guy, but it's just like I was thinking about 7 edge guys because I know that they want to go. They want to have a heavy rotation. And he's a Joe Douglas draft pick, early draft pick at that. But it was just too hard to keep him around.
Okay, so that's it for the prediction. We're gonna move through the rest of the chat like lightning round, Kyle, so like 20 minutes max. So we gotta move through these really quickly.
By the way, Stephen Engel asked which post office my dad worked at. Bridgewater.
Patty Pigston saying I understand that Mikhail will be fighting for a starting spot next year, but do you think there's a possibility he could go on to be our long-term right tackle, left tackle if he can prove that he can stay healthy? I don't think he's going to be given enough time to prove to the Jets he'll be the long-term or that he could be healthy, because they kind of have to address it going into next year. And even if he threw up one healthy season next year, that one season doesn't cancel out what his first 3 years have been in the NFL. So I don't think he's going to be a long-term starter for the Jets. I don't think he could be. Any disagreement there?
I mean, there's obviously the possibility, but
okay.
It's just you're Joe Douglas. Do you really want to take that gamble?
Yeah, no, not me. So again, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna apologize if I miss any chats in here. I'm just trying to see anything that kind of highlights or stands out to me.
Why does he call you Pooh Bear?
In the chat, who?
That last chat that you just put up called you Pooh Bear.
Oh, I have no idea. I was on Green Bean Show yesterday. I got some Eddie Monster stuff because of the Widow's Peak, but I can't get rid of it. It grows back. It's just there. So,
hey, at least you don't have a receding hairline, man.
No, it's there. It's definitely there. My hair grows out like a chia pet too, so it just goes. It's just this. Ow.
Dude, we all had some of these guys. Like they're 18-year-old guy who's balding when he's in high school. Man, that's feel for those guys. I'd rather have Joe's Widow Peak.
Yeah, right. Rob D, I agree with this. Brandon Shell, Doga McDermott. I would bring in Brandon Shell as a backup tackle. I'm not afraid of that. Him, Eric Fisher, anyone.
I'd definitely take him over Odoga.
Dude, Darrell Williams, Brandon Shell, Eric Fisher, any one of these guys to me is better than what we like. Is better than what they have. Like I know Darrell Williams has his problem.
Okay, and would you take one of those guys over Herbig?
Well, no, because they're not going to need to cut Herbig because they're going to be the backup tackle. They're going to carry 9 guys.
Okay, but at the beginning though, before the Mike White thing, you have 8 guys making it initially. I'm saying if it's Herbig or one of those guys, who do you take? Forget Odoga. This was the biggest disagreement we had.
Yeah, I guess if you're able to get like a Brandon Shell or an Eric Fisher, I would carry them over Herbig, but I don't think the Jets. I think they would find a different spot to cut from than cutting Herbig. I think they'd carry 9 offensive linemen, including Herbig and Shell, before they carried, let's say, like my 5 linebackers. Okay, get rid of Deltron Phillips then. I don't think they get rid of Herbig in any way.
Do we know if other teams put in a waiver claim for Herbig? I think the Jets got him because they were like first on the waiver list. But sometimes we get reports if someone else put in a claim. Do we know that?
I'm sure they did. Just based on his film again. He's not a good starter. I think he's a good backup though. So, yeah. The legend of Mike White is fading with each throw he attempts from Seeker to Booth 100%. I don't care if Mike White is the next Tom Brady. Cut him some Garrett. You think Garrett Wilson would change to 5 if Mike White's gone, or do you think he keeps the G17 thing going?
I think he kind of likes number 17, and there have been some good receivers. Plexico Burr 17, Devontae Adams 17. So there've been some good. Who? Braylon Edwards.
Braylon Edwards. The thing. Another number change. Does Jermaine Johnson snag 11 if Mims is gone? I think he definitely should snag 11 if Mims is gone. I'm not a big fan of the 52. Which, by the way,
52 if you're a linebacker works, but as an edge rusher, no. And no, Garrett Wilson's dude. If you're a good skill position guy, what are you doing? If you have a chance to get a single digit number, you definitely take it. And he had 5 in college. 5 is a nice number. He should go back to that.
JJ
the problem is how many Jets fans have already bought a Garrett Wilson 17 jersey?
That's
So like, if you change it now,
Derwin James just changed his number to 3, and I think Dalvin Cook changed his number to 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah, but okay. But here's the difference, though. The difference for some of those guys is when they first got in the league, they couldn't get a single-digit number. They literally couldn't.
Yeah, no, I know. But and the funny thing is too, like with did Jamal Adams,
like if Garrett Wilson really wanted number 5, he just got a big however much million guaranteed contract. He could have threw some money Mike White's way, and Mike White probably would have said, "Okay, dude, you can have it."
Yeah. But thing I want to get into before I forget it, because my mind's going all over the place right now, because I'm trying to read the chats. JJ in the preseason hasn't done much of anything. Like his pass rush has been lower my helmet and bull a guy. And I don't know, there's a show out there, Kyle, that said he's going to take a little bit long to develop as a pass rusher. And in preseason, he's been absent, to say the best. Like, yeah, he had that one play where he chased down the quarterback, but past that, he hasn't done much of anything. So, we expect that. I think you're looking at 3-4 sacks for the guy this year. But
dude, Clemens has looked better.
I'm rushing.
Just talking about Zuniga. Zuniga's looked better again. This is preseason.
I'm rushing Martin over him. I'm rushing Curry over him, just in terms of like pass down situations. JJ is one of the last person on. He's probably out of the 6 defensive ends you kept, Kyle. He's probably the least confident you are as a pass rusher. Like right now, snap. It's 3rd and 10. Who are your 6 of the Jets like lining up in order? JJ is probably 6th, right?
Let me just look at it real quick. Let me look at it real quick to confirm that. Definitely, I'm taking Bryce Huff over. I'm definitely taking Curry, Carl,
Martin.
No, I would take him. I would take him over Clemens on a 3rd and 10. I would. I know Clemens. I know Clemens has played better in the preseason thus far, but I don't see that lasting that long.
Let's keep moving on. Oh shit! Yeah, Reid went down. Art, but he came back in. But now he might not play in a preseason game, which is a little bit concerning. But it is what it is. I'm just trying to find some stuff. I apologize for the dead air time. Blunted Vegas thinks that Garrett Wilson's gonna be a superstar. He's been impressing through preseason so far. I would say I'm more impressed than not with him. We just want to see his hands be more consistent, because it was a problem at Ohio State, and now that not a problem, I would say it was a slight issue. And now that, again, you're putting him into a much more complex offense where he's thinking a lot, I think you could see his drop problems come to show up a little bit more because he's thinking too much.
I'll say this. This is one thing I like about Garrett Wilson that I wasn't really expecting. Everything we know about him, he's a nice kid who comes from a good family. Okay? But he's got a fire to him. This is something that Denzel Mims doesn't have. So when I showed up to practice, I actually got to meet Tyson, who you did a stream with a couple months ago for the first time. I've known him for years and spoke with him many times. But the first time I saw him in person, he's like, yeah, Garrett Wilson talks a lot of shit. I was like, really? Garrett Wilson talks a lot of shit? And then I noticed that, and he does run his mouth a lot. Like and then I even noticed in the last preseason game, he was running his mouth a lot too. And I don't think it's like in a douchebag, bad, like dickhead type of way, like a Conor McGregor type of way, but in like a way like I'm just like super duper duper competitive. Like sometimes you watch Mims out there, and Mims just looks like he's lost or he doesn't want to be there, and he's not like maybe giving his 100% effort. Versus Wilson, it's the exact opposite. So like while Wilson's like a good kid and stuff, like he's super competitive, and you need to have that in this league. So
agreed. For sure. Kyle, I want to hit this question from Talking Jets with Tico. How do you break that? Which, by the way, I'm assuming it's a channel. So go check out his channel. Maybe I should check it out tonight. Not to be offensive. I haven't checked out anything. I don't really watch a lot of stuff, but I will check you out, Tico, if you have a channel. I'm assuming you do. How do you break down the blame on the defense this year? If it struggles, like, is it 50-50, Ulbrich, Soler? What does that split look like, Kyle?
How would you break down the blame of this defense? 50-50. No, I mean, Salah's the head coach, and he is a defensive guy, so you'd have to say at least 60-40 Salah, probably even more than that, to be honest. Listen, At the end of the day, whatever Salah says goes. Like, if he gives Ulbricht an order, Ulbricht, needs to follow it. So, you have to, and in terms of, like, when first of all, Salah picked Ulbricht, second of all, and if it's not working out, he could replace him with someone else. But no, he's choosing to stick with Ulbricht. And when Salah, lays out the plan for the team at the given year, this is what I want to do on defense. Like, he's got the whole vision, And Ulbricht is the guy who's going to help him fulfill that vision. So you have to put more of a blame on Saleh. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, he's the defensive guy. You know, at the end of the day, like, yeah, it might be Ulbricht calling the plays, but he's overall responsible for the final product. So if he's not calling plays right, then take it over and find a new DC. Because I personally, people like Ulbricht's interviews. I hate the way he interviews. I really do. He says the same 4 things about every single player: strain, effort, want to, tough. Every single player is the strain is amazing. I can't with him. He's a terrible interviewer.
I could just see it, dude. I could see the disgust in your face.
It's so annoying. Just all you have to do is like go on Google and type in like other word, like synonyms for freaking strain, and start using those words. Like, do something else. Like, Jesus, dude. Like, it is so annoying. MB99, my girlfriend got us tickets to week 1 game for our 3-year anniversary. If y'all have any tips for a Jets fan's first game, please share.
Listen, don't listen to the bitches behind you that tell you to sit down on a 3rd down. Stand up, make noise, and if they don't like it, then they can kiss your ass. Don't tell them to kiss your ass. You know, don't try to get into a fight, but listen, just have a good time and root for the team.
Turn your phone off. Get beer before halftime because they cut it off at halftime. Get there early. Don't try to go in from the parking lot at 12:30 because it takes at least like almost an hour to 45 minutes sometimes to get in and sit down. So I would say leave to go into the game at the latest by 12. I get there at 8 o'clock, but I recommend getting there by at least like 11 o'clock. If you're not going to tailgate, again, personally, I get there at 8. I would say park next to porta potties if you are going to drink. That's a tip. And park close to exits. I don't like parking really deep into the parking lot and then you got to wait for 1,000 cars. Even though personally, if I have time, I get out of the game at 4:30. We go back to the bus. We crack open a couple other beers and grill until like 6, and then we leave. We don't wait in the traffic. So that's what I personally do. Steven Engel says tip 1, don't go. So he's a couch watcher, which is okay. Let's keep moving on. Any tips, Kyle? Anything else you can think of? That's kind of just my thing.
I would. This is something that we'll probably disagree on. I would say don't drink too much because then you have to go to the bathroom, dude. I can't stand. Joe, like we went to 2 games with each other last year. There was a couple times you went to the bathroom and you probably missed a couple plays. That would drive me crazy. Yeah. And I know that you're going to watch everything, all 22, and you're going to watch it many times over on repeat. But I got to watch it all live. Yeah,
no, I get that. It's just when you're 8, 10, 12, 15, whatever deep, you know, you've seen how it happens in some of these times. You literally can't not break the seal. So, CJ,
I will say this: you're definitely not a lightweight. Definitely not.
No, I don't think I'm a lightweight. That's fair. CJ Mosley, honest evaluation. Kyle, quick thoughts on that one?
Regarding what? I mean, like I don't know. He looks like CJ Mosley of last year. He's been a little bit disappointing as a Jet, which is to be expected. Sometimes when players get their second contract and they come over to a new team, oftentimes they don't live up to it. I don't think anybody really thought that CJ Mosley was going to be worth the amount of value that they got for him. But last year was a little disappointing, but he was still a good linebacker. Like he was a good linebacker, not great, and I think he'll probably be similar this year.
Oh, so Kyle, somebody asked what your shirt said before. I didn't.
Oh, it says "Make Orwell Fiction Again." Have you ever read 1984?
No.
Animal Farm?
Nope.
Okay, never mind.
I don't read, Kyle. I don't know if I can read.
Well, I'm saying the reason I asked is that those are usually like high school assigned books.
I thought they're getting rid of a lot of books.
That's one of them that they try to get rid of. 1984 in some places.
We're gonna have a post.
1984 is a classic, man.
We're gonna have a quick post stream discussion about that stuff. But Kyle, Steven Engel wants you to call Adoga a bitch to his face. He'd appreciate that.
I would not call Adoga a bitch to his face because he would very likely kick my ass. Although I wouldn't say 100% chance. Did you ever see that video? It's like they're in like a Walmart. I'm trying to remember his name. He was an offensive tackle drafted in the 4th round out of Maryland. I think his name was Bruce something. Out of Maryland. He ran like a 4.8 something. He tore up the combine, but he was a complete bust as a player. He sucked. Anyway, he was in a Walmart and he was talking shit to some other dude.
Oh, dude, yes. I've seen
this other dude who was a lot shorter than him and didn't even look like he had any type of build to him. Beat his ass. Yep. So just because you're like a big, strong NFL player that can probably bench a lot and run doesn't mean you can fight. So Adoga probably have like a 95+% chance of absolutely whooping my ass. There might be a small chance that I could get him. Maybe.
You said one clean shot, but somebody said Big Daddy says if one of the starting tackles goes down, move ABT to tackle and Herbig to guard and stop with the hampering of ABT's growth argument. Kyle, thoughts on that? I'm not moving ABT. You keep him at guard.
No, there's no way I'm moving ABT.
Yeah,
like I said, I don't know. Might have been the last stream I said it. ABT has all pro potential as a guard, but I don't even think he would be like an above average tackle.
I think he'd be like an average tackle. So then you're hampering his. You're like you said, stop with the hampering his growth. You're hampering his growth. He's already played left tackle, left guard, all this stuff in college. Then he was left guard. Now he's moving to right guard. Like it's not as easy as switching the position on Madden. Like it takes a toll on a guy. So keep him at guard. He stays at guard. Blunted Vegas, F. Jamal Adams. Let's enjoy his situation. Which I was going to say before, Kyle. Did he ruin the number 33? Dalvin Cook moving from 33. Derwin James moving from 33. Did Jamal Adams ruin a good number? Because I like that number.
Well, he still is 33.
He ruined it. Nobody talking about MC2. That kid's a good slot corner. We agree. Kyle, thoughts real quick?
Oh, well, we love MC2. Virtual lock to make the roster was never been considered. Dude, yeah, I mean, Joe loved his college film. He's like, yeah, man, his technique's really clean. I was like, oh, yeah? And then when I watched Joe's review, like, oh, wow, yeah, it is. And then, dude, right from the jump of training camp last year, we were hearing all these good reports about him. And then he had a really good game. His first game as a rookie out in Carolina. He was solid all year last year. I mean, like, listen, he had his, rookie mistakes and stuff, but dude, where they got, was he a fourth or fifth round pick, Joe?
Fifth.
Okay. So for a fifth round pick, University of Duke, that was kind of like a home run pick, honestly.
Who was the fourth round? Did we not have a fourth round pick last year? I'm forgetting who the fourth round pick was last year. Right? Because it went Carter, or was Carter a fourth? Or was
Carter was a fourth. Carter was an early fourth. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sneakers the boots. Who's your guys' favorite player jersey you have? To be honest, I don't. Maybe my signed Kotri throwback Titans, but I really like the Sauce jersey. I'm not gonna lie. Like the Sauce jersey is one of my favorites. But I would say probably my other one would be my Jayco, the signed Jayco. I think it's signed by Jayco and Brick. So.
Yeah, so apparently we were both at that event together, but we didn't even know each other at that point.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of favorite jersey that I have, I don't know. I mean, I guess probably Sauce, because I think he's going to be really good. I've been saying, I'm just going to say this. We were supposed to do our top 25 show last week. I'm not going to tell you exactly where he's ranked right now.
It's so hard with rookies.
But I have him ranked extremely high on the roster for this year. Extremely high. Okay. And I've been saying for many weeks now that I think he's got a pretty decent shot to make the Pro Bowl as a rookie. Okay. I've been saying that for a while now. Mm-hmm. And it was really early on in the draft process that I kept saying, I think Sauce has to be the pick at 4 unless Hutchinson's there. Okay. So the fact that, so it's a custom jersey. It says Sauce on the back as opposed to Gardner. It's black. I like the black jerseys. So I guess it's probably that one. I don't have any signed one like Joe does. It's interesting, going to training camp recently. Like I remember when I used to go like 10 years ago or whatever, like I wanted to get all these autographs from players and stuff. And now it's just like, yeah, I don't care about getting an autograph now.
I couldn't care any less. I don't care about a signed football. Like it's a football that somebody wrote on. Dude, like at the end of the day, I don't know.
There was this kid who the security guy was trying to kick all the fans out by this point, because players by this point stood up and he's like, Breeze, come here, man. He's like, Breeze, give me your shoe. I'm about to get kicked out. Like he just kept going on. And the players were just like laughing at him. This kid was so desperate to get all these autographs and stuff.
Jennifer wants to know if we could yell Sauce like Salah. I could, but not sober. Unless Kyle has cleared his throat, so I don't know. Hawk said he already bought a.
I'll do it sometime. I don't know about right now.
Yeah, not right now. It has to be random where it's not expected. Everybody's like waiting for it. But
also, I don't know. My wife might be doing something for work in the other room, so I don't want to bother her.
Gotcha. Let's see. Appreciate you, Sneakers to Boots. Let's see. I'm moving through the rest of it. Wow, Kyle, I did not think that Wilson ran his mouth like that. I like it. Yeah, and like when people run their mouth, like they have like the obligation to. They do anyway, but like to back it up too. So, let's see.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a fire in it, and I remember. I got this anecdote from Scott Mason's podcast when he was talking about like how they were on like some kind of cruise or something like that, and Garrett Wilson was like a young kid and he was playing basketball against his dad and a couple of friends, and Wilson was just like a young kid or whatever, but he was taking all these older dudes to school or whatever. Like he's just he has that competitive fire in him. Like not only is he like an insane athlete who can make those crazy out of control, contorting his body through the air, catching the ball.
Yeah,
like he has that, but he also has this extra fire to him and stuff too, which again, someone like Denzel Mims just doesn't have, unfortunately. And that probably, based off of what we've seen throughout his career, will be the reason why Denzel Mims never lived up to expectations. One of the reasons.
Mm-hmm. Ulrich seems like the kind of guy to host a glory hole on Craigslist. Which maybe I can almost see him like being like a.
Forgive
like
my ignorance,
guy.
but what is that?
It is a hole that is cut out in walls where certain people
okay.
Yeah. You
I know what it is. Never mind.
Yeah. You can stick that through it. So, what is that movie? It brings me to back to that movie. What's the movie where like they hire? Was it Horrible Bosses where like they hire a guy to kill somebody or whatever? It was like on Craigslist, but then he like comes with like a tarp and he like goes to like pee on them or something like that. Ulrich can be one of those guys. I don't know what movie that is. Somebody's gonna throw it out.
I haven't seen that movie.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. So Denzel Mims for Brady Christensen, Zach's BYU teammate who's about to tackle. Sure. I don't know.
Did he?
Everybody's loving a shirt. Everybody's loving a shirt.
Did he even get drafted? Dude, I can't believe you don't know who Orwell is.
He's English, but it's literature.
Let's talk about Orwell.
Maybe it's a public school versus private school thing. I've never heard of that. Well, it's a football show, so we talk football, not storylines. John, you got to stop. Hey, well, at the end of the thing, I'm trying to get to your chats. That is good, though, John. I love that. It's funny. It's literally in the intro, right? I sound like a douche, right? So, let's see. Free agents or possible cuts you guys would want. It's hard to know TSO. It's. I'm really looking at tackle, linebacker, safety, and wide receiver at this point. So.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Hawk said, I didn't move the Jets sign. It's been there for a while.
Which one?
Both these Jets signs have been here for a while.
MB says, thanks for the tips, guys. So what I'm hearing is that I can't shotgun 20 beers as an industry. No, you can. Come to my tailgate. You can shotgun as much as you want. We shotgun plenty. So 20 would be, I don't know how big of a guy you are. And if you're pushing like 300 and you're drinking Millers, maybe you could do that. But yeah, I would be impressed with. I remember I was.
The thing is, if you get blasted, how much of the game are you going to really be able to comprehend?
Oh, not a lot at all. I went to the New England the game with the butt fumble, and the only play I remember from that game, I was like 18. I understand that. I remember like one play. It was like a dive from Sean Green up the middle. That's all I remember. I didn't know the butt fumble happened until the next day, and I was there. So
wow.
Yeah.
How much did you drink?
A lot. I was like 18, so I couldn't handle myself.
Do you ever do hard liquor?
Yeah. That's usually when I start forgetting stuff. Is when we sneak in a flask. If you're gonna sneak in a flask, MB, make sure it's plastic. That's another thing. Don't make that metal. Let's see. Anything? Hey, let's go, dog. Yeah, I'm gonna be in J1. MB, feel free to come in shotgun. I know I'm gonna make my way over to. Where everybody else is.
Is it definitely J1 for sure? 100%.
I'm always in J1, so I'm gonna be in J1 regardless. I think I'm gonna be in J1 and then like walk over to that other tailgate. I'm not gonna be at the tailgate for all 4 or 5 hours. I'll probably stop by for an hour or two to the big tailgate, but I'll be in J1 for sure. That's where I'm at. So, okay. Brian, how about 420? That's for off the show, but. Nonetheless, Kyle, that is it for the show. Any last words before next week? We're doing Thursday night, 8 o'clock. By the way, it's going to be every Thursday night now, 8 o'clock, or sorry, every Thursday, 6 o'clock moving forward. Thursday, because it gives a couple days to watch the film. For the people who are out there, if you are in the fantasy league, you got in, make sure to accept the Discord invite. The draft is 9/6 at 8 o'clock, I believe. Past that, I'm going to be putting out a feeler for pick'ems this year, Kyle. We had like 4, 5, 6 dudes who jumped on the pick'ems, minus us and Sabo and all that. So maybe we'll throw out a feeler for pick'ems if everybody wants to join in that.
I know Assassin, he'll be in there. He's tired of taking second place.
Assassin will be in there. Verge will be in there probably, but I want to be like first come, first serve. So whoever emails me first. But when's
the fantasy draft?
I said 9/6, 8 o'clock.
Oh.
I quite literally just said that, but nonetheless,
my bad. I do have ADHD.
Check out the film review from the Falcons game. The film review of the Giants will be out Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm going to the Mets game on Tuesday, so maybe by Wednesday it'll be out. The top 25 next Thursday at 6 o'clock. Looking forward to it. Kyle, anything else? I think I just asked you, but I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I think it's probably been a while since I plugged the website, so we've been talking about film reviews and stuff, and there's a couple more still to come out. Joe's still got to put his Whitehead out. Obviously, the Giants game coming up. Do you have any other players to put out? Dwayne Brown, right?
Dude, so many. Whitehead, Conklin, Uzama, Jacob Martin, Solomon Thomas, Herbig.
But there's some that I have seen that you still haven't put up on the website yet. By the way, did we miss a super chat earlier? Because I'm seeing that we just got one from the New York Bully. Thank you, New York Bully.
We actually might have.
We definitely got one. I am
definitely not the guy to hammer like tickets and all this stupid stuff. Like I don't, dude. Like my thing is like, okay, if you're going like 60 and a 45, and then I'm like, you can't do that. Like unless you have like a really big history of it, okay, different story. But like, I'm not gonna stop people and be an asshole for things I do off duty. You know, like I'm not that guy. I'm not fake with that stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely not a dick. That's for sure.
Does your department have like quotas and stuff? And when
I know of no department having quotas, but I could tell you, okay, hey Kyle, you wrote no tickets in April. What are you doing? You know, like are you stopping cars? Like are you dealing with domestics? Like what are you doing? Is it justified? If you're not doing anything, you know, then yeah. So we don't have a quota, but they're gonna keep track of if you're active. You know.
Get that super chat that we missed before.
Yeah, I'm finding it, but I appreciate that NY Bully, the $5 super chat, and you saying that.
Thank you.
I'm sure some people have different opinions, but to the normal person, we're definitely cool. So let's see. Daniel Faust, appreciate the super chat. Sorry, getting to it an hour late. Keep Shrevler as 2. No. One, I think his best case scenario is starting the season off as the number 3 quarterback. But when Wilson comes back as the 1, there's no way he's going to be kept over Flacco. So Shrevler at best is the 3, and I see it only being for a week or 2. But I appreciate the $2 super chat.
Yeah. I don't think it's hard for me to think that he actually meant Shrevler as 2, like over Flacco. I don't think he meant that.
That's
anyway.
That's how I answered it. But
Joe arrested my brother for doing 90 to 35. That's
yeah, appreciate you guys. We will see you next Thursday at 6. I will be back with another film review before then. I pretty much have to put out a film review every single day to get out all of the film reviews. So they're in the queue. They will be there. But I appreciate you guys, and I will see you soon.